Okay. Hare Krishna. So that is the purpose of it. So we have to approach the way he wants us to approach, right? So yeah, now I can share the screen. Thank you. So I just want to show. So the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam actually are there all over Srimad Bhagavatam. But according to Shridhar Swami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti and even Jiva Goswami to some extent, they say that predominantly there is one topic in one canto. So the Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, they begin from that canto 3. But what is the first two cantos then? So the first two cantos are the prelude. So the first canto is establishing the Adhikar Tattva. So the qualification of hearer and qualification of the speaker, by which the one can aspire for the right qualification of hearer, and a proper hearer can become proper speaker, just as in case of Sukadeva Goswami as well as Suta Goswami. So that's the first canto. And second canto, so what does second canto teach us? You remember, anyone, we have discussed earlier also. What is the topic of second canto predominantly? What is the essential? In the prelude, one is the qualification of hearer and speaker. And so what is the second canto speaking about? Anyone want to contribute to this? What is the second canto speaking about? Entirety, in its entirety, what it is communicating. So here we have Krishna Kirtan Prabhu also, fortunately. Here is one. Prabhuji is with us in first party. So yes, anyone wants to say what is the second canto represent or teach us the important thing? Anyone? Hare Krishna. Anyone want to try? What is the lesson? What is the essential teaching of second canto? Yes, Narahari Thakur, you want to try? You have unmuted yourself.
Actually, I forgot to mute, but
Okay.
I can guess that a creation part is more spoken like that. How Lord is behind everything.
Okay. Creation. And who else is saying SK to everyone? What is that? SK? Who is SK Pro?
Kapil Kapse.
Swapnil Prabhu, Haribol. Swapnil Prabhu is telling us that second canto is remembering the Lord. That is through creation. So he is echoing with the. Yeah. Yes, good tries. Any other try? I think in 8th chapter I tried to share this. What is there in first 4 chapters of first, second canto? First 4 chapters, what is there? What is established?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Pranjal Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
So in first 4 chapters, basically, different kind of liberations being discussed by Virat Roop meditation, Paramatma meditation, ultimately said that Bhakti is the supreme.
Yeah, so you said correctly, the supremacy of sadhana of bhakti is being established with comparison with so many other paths. So that is the sadhan tattva which is told in the second canto. So your visibility is very nice. Param Puja Radhanath Maharaj is blessing you, it seems. We are seeing his hand is coming like this. Yeah. Oh,
It's
he's
cow.
blessing cow along with the Pranjal Prabhu as well. Very good.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
So it's a sadhan tattva which is being explained in the second canto. The first 4 chapters are establishing that only. You can see that in terms of the end. Sadhan tattva is what? Bhakti. Even if whatever you want in this world, akama, sarva kama, moksha kama, whatever you are, bhakti is the highest sadhana to attain the fruit, whatever you want, including the highest fruit as well. And then Bhakti is glorified and non-Bhakti is criticized by the Shaunakadi rishis towards the end of third chapter. And the fourth chapter is the most amazing chapter of prayers of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. And then comes the question by Parikshit in the chapter 4. Chapter 4, he asks about creation. At the beginning of chapter 4, he asks about creation. And then Shukadeva Goswami, he doesn't start answering. That's the right Vaishnava mood, that he prays to Krishna to empower him to speak. And then he starts answering, and he doesn't answer. He starts quoting what Brahmaji answered to Narada. That's how the 5th, 6th, 7th chapter is coming, which we are now going to discuss. So the 4th chapter, you see, I'm just putting things in context here. So 4th chapter, you see, 2.4.6 is the question by Parikshit. That I beg to know from you how personality of Godhead by his personal energies creates these phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to great demigods, etc. So that's how he begins his inquiry. And to answer this question, Shukadeva Goswami, after deeply praying to Krishna, who is his spiritual master, along with Vedvyas, he says that I will answer this question by quoting Narada Brahma Samvad. That is the 25th verse of the 4th chapter. My dear king, Brahma, the firstborn on being questioned by Narada, exactly apprised him on the subject matter, as it was directly spoken by the Lord to his own son, who was impregnated with Vedic knowledge from his very birth. So he is going to quote, and then by 5th chapter, 6th chapter, you discuss the 10 questions which are asked by Narada Muni, 6 questions about the creation and 4 questions about Brahmaji himself. So that's what I'm going to show now. So the 6 questions are, I hope, elaborately discussed and answers by our Prabhu. So yeah, so these are the questions. Yeah, so you can see these are the 10 inquiries of Brahmaji as asked by Narada, right? Yad rupam yadhisthana yatah system ityadi. So they are the 6 inquiries about creation, and there are inquiries about Brahma also. Where is your shelter, under whom you are working, all that. You can see the down part, 4 inquiries. 2.5.4. So subject matter of 5th chapter and 6th chapter and 7th chapter is these answers. So actually the 6 questions are answered in 5th and 6th chapter. Right? Now we are going to enter into, so these all things are explained, which you must have very wonderfully, elaborately heard from the creation expert, right? And we must understand the glory of the Supreme Lord and his unconditional love for all of us. By understanding the magnanimity of Lord, how he is going out of the way for helping the rebellious souls. He has great hope along with the patience. Imagine again and again creating a creation, maintenance, and destruction. So many of you have served in voice or base or whatever it is. So you can imagine that you send some boys out and you create a separate facility for them to maintain them. That is like creation. So his causeless compassion, and he's facilitating in a very personal way. How many varieties of enjoyments are kept for the rebellious soul. So that's what we understand from Srishti Leela. And now we go to the chapter 7, right? That's what is subject matter of today's discussion. So this is the essence of the chapter. Avataraha saptamesmin rodadhyah sahakarmabhi vibhutayascha bhaktascha nirupyate samasatah. So this is the essence of the chapter explained in the Karika verse. So I'll just read the translation of the same. So this says that Avatara Saptamesmi. So in 7th chapter, the Avatara starting with Varaha. So Prodaleha, Proda is Varaha, Saha, Karmabhihi, along with their activities, Vibhutis, Vibhutayas, and Bhaktas, and their devotees are described in Samasataha, in summary. The entire Bhagavatam elaboration will be there, but this is summarized. So that's what is the essence of this chapter. And the breakup of this chapter is like this. So 1 to 39 is the section of, like you can see, Prabhupada has translated this, titled this chapter as Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. Right? So that's what is coming in the first 39 verses. So 1 to 25, 25 to 35, 35 to 39. So I have broken it into 3 sections. So first section 1 to 25 is that there are various Leela avatars, practically one verse for each. Varaha, Kurma, Matsya, and many others. And their activities in brief, like one verse. Maybe Vaman Dev, there are 2 verses, Narayan Rishi, 2 verses, Lord Ram, 3 verses, and then Krishna, 10 verses. So that goes to show the goal of the speaker as well as the Shukdev Goswami, right? Here itself we can see the emphasis is on Krishna. So 25 to 35 is special description about Krishna's activities and the purpose of his activities, which is a very important section. That's why it's in red. And then 35 to 39 are remaining incarnations like Vedvyas, Buddha, Kalki, and ending with Vibhutis, Vibhutis of Guna. So that is the first section, 1 to 39. Then 40 to 41 is no one can estimate powers of Vishnu. So Brahmaji is saying that, my dear Narada, I can't describe Leela Avataras. How many I can tell you? There is no limit to them. So what about his powers? No one can estimate his powers. No one can estimate his extent of Leela Avataras, their activities. So that's what is the subject matter of 40 and 41, especially about his powers. About counting, someone can count the dust particles on earth, but they can't count. Then 42 to 46 is still, in spite of unlimitedness of the Supreme Lord and how one cannot understand him and his powers, one can know him by his mercy. So that is a very important part, very important section of this chapter, where the qualification of pure devotion, pure unalloyed devotion is mentioned. This is the only way to understand the law and serve the law. So the worshippers of Bhagavan. And then 47 to 49 is the description of worshippers of Brahman and Paramatma. And they also attain perfection by only bhakti. That is what is 47 to 40. And the last and the most important section is 50 to 53. So Brahmaji summarizes what he has spoken in last 3 chapters. And he instructs Narada now that please expand on this, what I have told you. And you should describe the Avatar Leelas as well as Sister. That's how this chapter ends. So that is another important. So 3 important sections. Actually, the middle one I have not made it read. 42 to 46 is also important. So that is how this chapter is kept. So now coming to the connection of previous chapter and this chapter, that we'll see, because the seed verse of each chapter is the last verse of the previous chapter. Right? So let us see those verses quickly. So 2.4.33. Yeah, someone can read the, not 2.4, so 2.6.33. Can someone read the translation? If you have book in front of you. 2.6.33. Anyone? You can see now, please read. Hare
My dear
Krishna.
son,
Ah,
whatever
yes.
you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you, and you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah. So actually, this is like a summary of his answer, whatever he has spoken of. Iti te abhihitam tata yadenam anupritchasi. As you have inquired, I have told you. What is the essence of it? Nanyat bhagavataha kinchit bhavyam sadasadhas. So there is nothing other than the Supreme Law and its cause and effects. So that's how he summarizes the Achintya Veda Ved Tattva. And then the next series of verses elaborate further that if someone like Narada may say that how I can believe on your words. So Brahma says you should believe on my words because I am holding Lord Krishna in my heart. Janme Ridhi Autkanthatata Dhutota. See, my dear Narada, those who have created by me, how can they know the Supreme Lord? Because I don't know. So how can my creation know? My sons know. So no one can know. So if someone says I know, they are all cheaters. But I am not like that. That's what he is saying in the next few verses. So you can see that others learned in scriptures do not hold the Lord in their minds. Thus the working of their mind is false and their words are false. Do not accept such liars. So like that, Brahmaji is telling, and then he is telling, what to speak of myself. Even the Lord himself doesn't know the limit of his past. So that is the next verse. And then further, he prays to the Supreme Lord, and then there is, and he expresses his low position. Yeah. So this is a very nice verse where he says that, see, my dear Narada, we cannot know him, but still we glorify him. We do not know him in Tattva, still we glorify. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose incarnations and activities are chanted by us for glorification, though he can hardly be fully known as he is. So you have asked me so many questions about creation and all, but how much you can understand, you can decipher how much. But the important is whether we understand fully or not, Tatvena, we glorify his act. That is the point which is made here. Even if we do not know about these things in truth, we can still practice bhakti process like chant. So we speak about activities of avatars. Please listen. My dear Narada, you have not asked me this question, but now I want to speak something which you have not asked. You have asked me the questions, I have answered. Now I want to tell you something, please listen. So that's what is the subject matter here. Now I am going to tell you about Leela avatars. But before that, the 38 to 45 verses, they tell about Purusha avatar, Brahman, Paramatma, etc. and Vibhutis. So that is from 38 to 45. So here, so he tells about Purusha avataras, Guna avataras, Vibhutis, and the last verse is the seed verse for the next chapter. Right? So these are Guna avataras, Vibhutis, and everything. In the last 46th verse. Yeah. You can see. So see, yeah, can you please read this link between the section, the important link here?
The Lord is revealed in three forms according to the person's qualification, as mentioned in the statement Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdyate, from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.645 until 2.742, ending with a description of Kalki. The unlimited qualities of Bhagavan have been described.
Yeah. So this section which we are discussing is the qualities of Bhagavan. Okay. So you can remember that even third chapter is similar to this chapter, right? The third chapter of first canto is also similar to this chapter. isn't it? There are also incarnations, many. So the point is that Brahman and Paramatma are already described before, as I told, 38 to 45. So now Bhagavan is being described from his 45th verse, previous verse, till the chapter which we are going to discuss, 2742. So that's what Bhagavan. So many times we have this Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, but we have to be very clear in understanding what it is, because Bhagavatam time and again tells about these three aspects very clearly. Okay? So that's what is Bhagavan. So Bhagavan means the Lord who appears in this material world from spiritual world. Lord of the spiritual world is Bhagavan, and Paramatma is Lord of this material world, like Paramatma, the three Vishnus. That is Paramatma. Right? So now, having told about Purusha avatars elaborately, that is Lord of material world or Paramatma feature, and their qualities, their activities. Now, my dear Narada, you have not asked me about Lila avatars, but I want to tell you about it because they are relishable. You listen and relish them. So that's what is being said in the next verse. Pradhanyato yandrisha amananti Leelavatarām purushasya bhumnah apiyatam karana kashaya shoshan anukramishye tatiman supesha. Yeah, this is the translation.
O Lord, now I shall state, one after another, the transcendental incarnations of the Lord known as Leela Avataras. Hearing of their activities counteracts all foul matter accumulated in the year. These pastimes are pleasing to hear and are to be relished. Therefore, they are in my heart.
Yeah. So, my dear Narada, I answered your questions about Sushti Leela. Now I want to tell you something which is in my heart, which I relish. So you also should listen and relish. So Purushavatara has been described, but this topic is predominantly concerning Maya Shakti. Right? Purushavatara means Lord's interaction with Bahiranga Shakti. But Leela Avataras means Lord's interaction with Chit Shakti. So that's what is described. So there are 6 kinds of avatars which you are seeing here. PLSMYG, please my God. So Purusha avatar, Leela avatar, Shaktavesh avatar, Manvantar avatar, Yuga avatar, Guna avatar. So in that Purusha avatar and Guna avatar are Paramatma, like the Lord of the material world. Whereas Leela avataras, Shaktavesh avataras, Manvantar avataras, Yuga avataras, they are going to come in the next chapter. Right? So this is the second verse which he is going to speak. Actually, this is a perfect, wonderful preacher of Krishna consciousness. Brahmaji is teaching us. Brahmaji is elaborately answering the question which is asked. However, after that, he is telling something which is very important and which he relishes. Right? So same thing you can observe in Bhagavatam 3rd Canto 15th chapter, when the womb of Diti is creating so much of darkness in the entire universe. So that time the demigods are in tension. What is happening? Brahma, please do something. They are in tension and go to Brahma. And Brahmaji sees the opportunity and describes the beautiful chapter of 15 chapter of 3rd Canto. So that is what Brahmaji wants to tell them. So he beautifully describes the chapter and the consciousness of Vaikuntha. And then he come to the story of, Diti approaching Kashyapa at wrong. Here also we can see Brahmaji is telling now what is there in his heart and what he relishes. Supesha. So here, apiyata means you drink it, don't just listen it. Apiyata. With the ear. Please drink this pastime because they are very pleasing to hear, because they are performed with internal energy. Lord's interaction with internal energy. And the glory of it is what? Karna Kashaya Shosha. That it can make us distasteful for everything else. So Prabhupada is writing like the hearing the activities counteracts all foul matter accumulated in here. So that is the effect of hearing the Leela avatars and their activities. So that's what is the seed verse for this chapter, and Brahmaji is now speaking what he want to speak after thoroughly answering the questions of his son Narada. Right? So that's what Prabhupada also says, that he quotes this thing. Anyway, you have seen this. The devotees of the Lord, however, know well how to creative forces work concurrently by action and reaction of the material energy. Therefore, they take more interest in transcendental activities of Lord as he incarnates himself in the surface of the material world. So, it's not that they neglect the Srishti Lila, but they know well the Srishti Lila, but they relish the Avatar Lila. Right? So, that's what is being said. So, with this seed verse in, now let us proceed into the chapter. So 1 to 39, as I said. So 1 to 25 will go very quickly since we have limited time. Right? Actually, they should be relished nicely, but at the same time, we have to have time for that, right? So you can, now what I would request is maybe five devotees, just a minute.
So if you don't know the location where to come down, they are not picking the phone. So you don't understand which village this is.
You can pay 16,100. Do the needful. So you are able to see, right? Yeah. So first 25 verses we will quickly go by simply reading the translations. However, that is not the best way to go, but we have 53 verses. So we will have to do this. So chapter 7, scheduled incarnation with specific functions. So few verses we may recite. Let us begin with the first. Yeah, you can also recite along with me without unmuting yourself. Brahmovacha yatrodhyatah kshititaloddharanaaya bibhrat praudim tanum sakalayajnamamiyamantah antarmaharnava upagatamaditya tam danshtadrimiva vajjatarodadara. Now maybe 5, 5, 6, 6 verses one do it. Like maybe, okay, please read some. The brown one.
Lord Brahma said,
Yeah, continue.
Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime, just to live the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Garbhodhak, the first demon, Hiranyaksha, appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk.
Yeah. So that's it. The entire pastime of Hiranyaksha being killed by Varahadev finishes off in one verse. Right? Which is elaborately spoken in third canto. Yeah. Please read the next incarnation. Yajna incarnation. Yeah, please read the translation too. Continue.
The Prajapati first begot Suyagya in the womb of his wife Akuti. And then Suyagya begot demigods headed by Suyam in the womb of his wife Dakshina. Suyagya, as the Indradev, diminished very great miseries in the three planetary systems, upper, lower, and intermediate. And because he so diminished the miseries of the universe, he was later called Hari by the great father of mankind, namely Swayambhuva Manu.
Yeah. So this is okay. Now the next is Kapil Dev. Yes. Continue, bro. You can read 6 verses at least.
The Lord then appeared as Kapil incarnation, being the son of Prajapati, Brahman, Kardam, and his wife Devahuti, along with 9 other women, sisters. He spoke to his mother about self-realization, by which, in that very lifetime, she became fully cleansed of the mud of the material modes and thereby achieved liberation, the path of Kapil.
Very interesting here. Puche yatha yatma shamalam gunasanga pankam tasmin vidhuya kapilasya gatim praped. So Kapila's teachings, Prabhupada says they are one of the most important teachings. So that you can come out of the panka of three modes. Panka means what? Mud. So mud of the material modes. So Shamalam Gunasanga Panka. So by Kapil Dev. So Kapil Dev is one who describes the devotional service also in three modes and the unalloyed devotional service. So Kapil Dev is mother. Yeah. Further, Dattatreya is explained. Yeah, please read.
The great sage Atri prayed for offspring, and the Lord, being satisfied with him, promised to incarnate as Atri's son, Dattatreya, Datta, the son of Atri. And by the grace of the lotus feet of the Lord, many Yadus, Haihayas, etc., become so purified that they obtain both material and spiritual blessings.
Yeah. So Datto Mayham Iti. That I give myself to you. Oh, yeah. But Bhagavan Sadatta. That's why he Datta. He instructed Yadu and Haihayadya. So Haihaya is nothing but Kartaviri Arjun. Only. So this is there in 6th canto, 1st chapter, Atrimani. And then 7th canto, he is instructing Yadu. And 11th canto, I think, to Haihaya or the other way. So these pastimes are there. And of course, Kapil Dev is in 3rd canto. Then the next is Nar Narayan, 4 Kumaras. Yeah, please read.
To create different planetary systems, I had to undergo austerity then penance. And the Lord, thus being pleased with me, incarnated and four Sanas, Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar. In the previous creation, the spiritual truth was devastated, but the four Sanas explained it so nicely that the truth at once became clearly perceived by the sages.
Yeah. So this is 4 Kumaras. He's telling when. Yeah. Then next is Nar Narayan Rishi. So 4 Kumaras last time is told in 3rd canto, 12th chapter when they appear and further also. Yeah. Next, please. Nar Narayan Rishi, 2 verses are there. This and next.
To exhibit his personal way of austerity and penance, he appeared in twin form as Narayan and Nar in the womb of Murti, the wife of Dharma and daughter of Daksha. Celestial beauties, the companions of Cupid, went to try to break his vows, but they were unsuccessful, for they saw that many beauties like them were emanated from him, the personality of Godhead.
Yeah. So this pastime is explained in 11th canto, 4th chapter, elaborately. And Indra sends to disturb Nar Narayan Rishi. The Urvashi is given as a gift for Indra. So that whole thing. 12th canto also there is past. Continues. Yeah, please. One more you can read.
Great stalwarts like Lord Shiva can, by their wrathful glances, overcome lust and vanquish him, yet they cannot be free from the overwhelming effects of their own wrath. Such wrath can never enter into the heart of him, the Lord, who is above all this. So, how can lust take shelter in his mind?
It's a very beautiful verse actually. That Kamam Dahanti Kritino Nanurosha Drishta. So Lord Shiva burned the Cupid by becoming angry because he came to agitate him or whatever. But he could not control his anger. But Lord is completely free from it. Soyam yadantaram alam pravishtam buddhiti. That that fears, the kama or krodha fears to enter the Lord's mind. Kama katham nu punarasya manah shayat. So that they are glorifying the Nar Narayan Rishis. That actually they were so touched by their loving interaction. Actually, that Apsaras who came, they developed attraction in a conjugal mode with Nar Narayan Rishi. And eventually, actually, they become the gopis also. So, because of the beautiful, sweet dealing of Nar Narayan Rishi. So, where is the question of lust entering in his mind. That's how Brahma is glorifying them. Now someone else can read 8th verse. Yes, please. It is Prishni Garbha,
Being,
which was, yeah, sorry,
Be-
Chetanpur, please go ahead.
yes, being in spoken by the co-wife of the king, even in his presence, Prince Dhruva, though only a boy, took to severe penances in the forest, and the Lord, being satisfied by his prayer, awarded him the Dhruva planet, which is worshipped by great sages, both upward and downward.
Yeah. So in this verse, there is no name Prishni Garbha, but Srila Vishwanath Chakra Thakur reconciles that yes, this is Prishni Garbha only, and his activities are explained. So here activities are explained, but the name is explained in the 10th canto. 10th canto, 3rd chapter, 32nd verse. There it is told. So this is Prishni Garbha. Yeah. The next one is, yeah, please read. Prithu Maharaj.
Maharaj Vain went astray from the path of righteousness, and the Brahmanas chastised him by the thunderbolt curse. By this king Vain was burnt with his good deeds and opulence, and was en route to hell. The Lord, by his causeless mercy, descended as his son by the name of Prithu, delivered the condemned king Vain from hell, and exploited the earth by drawing all kinds of crops as produce.
Yeah. So Prithu Maharaj's wonderful activities are told in a very precise way, which are elaborated in 4th canto. And the interesting part is he delivered his father Vena also. So he was in hell. So Vishwanath Chakra Thakur explains this story from Vaman Puran, that he heard that his father has suffered in hell, and now he has become like a leper. So Prithu Maharaj got his father and bathed him in a Prithu lake at Kurukshetra, and then delivered him. So he did the duty of his being a putra. Right? So that's what is additionally told here, which is not told in 4th canto. Yeah. Then next, Rishabdev.
The Lord appeared as the son of Sudevi, the wife of King Nabhi, and was known as Rishabdev. He performed materialistic yoga to equibalance the mind. This stage is also accepted as the highest perfectional situation of liberation, wherein one is situated in oneself and is completely satisfied.
Jada Yoga Charya. Jada Yoga. He did Jada Yoga. Interesting. Further, please read Hayagriva.
The Lord appeared as the Hayagriva incarnation in a sacrifice performed by me, Brahma. He is the personified sacrifices, and the hue of his body is golden. He is the personified Vedas as well, and the super soul of all demigods. When he breathed, all the sweet sounds of the Vedic hymns came out of his nostrils.
Yeah. So next is Matsyavta. Yeah. Please read this.
At the end of the millennium, the future Vaivasvat Manu of the name Satyavrata would see that the Lord in the fifth incarnation is the shelter of all kinds of living entities, up to those in the earthly planets. Because of my fear of the vast water at the end of the millennium, the Vedas come out of my mouth, and the Lord enjoys those vast waters and protects the Vedas.
Yeah. So this is elaborately described in 8th canto, 24th chapter. Yeah. Now someone else can read ahead. The Kurma avatar, Kurma and Sima, etc. Text 30.
And read from
Yes, please read.
The primeval Lord then assumed the tortoise incarnation in order to serve as a resting place pivot for the Mandara mountain, which was acting as a churning rod. The demigods and demons were churning the ocean of milk with the Mandara mountain in order to extract nectar. The mountain moved back and forth, scratching the back of Lord Tortoise, who, while partially sleeping, was experiencing an itching sensation.
The Lord is relishing the itching. Now, Narsimhadev. Yeah, seventh canto dedicated for. Yes.
The personality of God had assumed the incarnation of Narasimhadev in order to vanquish the great fears of the demigods. He killed the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, who challenged the Lord with a club in his hand by placing the demon on his thighs and piercing him with his nails, rolling his eyebrows in anger and showing his fearful teeth and mouth.
Further, Hari, Lord Hari, who saved Gajendra.
The leader
Two
of
verses.
The leader of the elephants, whose leg was attacked in a river by a crocodile of superior strength, was much aggrieved. Taking a lotus flower in his trunk, he addressed the Lord, saying, O original enjoyer, Lord of the universe, O deliverer, as famous as a place of pilgrimage, all are purified simply by hearing your holy name, which is worthy to be chanted.
So his prayer is given here. Actually, very interesting. Tirtha Shravana Mangala Namadeya. So here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says very nicely the thinking of uh, elephant, Gajendra. I have heard your auspicious name from the mouth of my Guru. How then I can be in an inauspicious situation now? Hmm? Like that he said. Yes. So one more verse is there clarifying his response. Yeah.
The personality of Godhead, after hearing the elephant's plea, felt that the elephant needed his immediate help, for he was in great distress. Thus at once the Lord appeared there on the wings of the king of birds, Garuda, fully equipped with his weapons, the wheel, the chakra. With the wheel he cut to pieces the mouth of crocodile to save the elephant, and he delivered the elephant by lifting him by his trunk.
Now Vaman Dev. Yes.
The Lord, although transcendental to all material modes, still surpassed all the qualities of the son of Aditi, known as Adityas. The Lord appeared as the youngest son of Aditi, and because he surpassed all the planets of the universe, he is the supreme personality of Godhead. On the pretense of asking for a measurement of 3 footsteps of land, he took away all the lands of Bali Maharaj. He asked simply because without begging, no authority can take one's rightful position.
One more verse for glorifying Vaman. Yes.
Bali Maharaj, who put on his head the water washed from the lotus feet of the Lord, did not think of anything besides his promise, in spite of being forbidden by his spiritual master. The king dedicated his own personal body to fulfill the measurement of Lord's third step. For such a personality, even the king of heaven, which he conquered by his strength, was of no value.
Yeah. So actually it's glorification of Bali along with Vaman. So they are always inseparable. Yeah, now someone else can read Hamsa Avatar. There are two different Hamsas, but here one is explained. Yes, that is volunteer.
O Narada, you were taught about the science of God and his transcendental loving service by the personality of Godhead in his incarnation of Hansa Avatar. He was very much pleased with you due to your intense proportion of devotional service. He also explained unto you lucidly the full science of devotional service, which is especially understandable by person who are a soul surrender unto Lord Vasudev, the personality of Godhead.
Yeah. So this Hamsa Avatar, there is one Hamsa Avatar in 11th canto. So that is when he instructed Kumaras. So this is he instructed Narada. So there are two different incidences. So there one incidence is mentioned. Yeah. Now next, please continue reading. This is Manvantar Avatar. Sorry.
not visible. As
this-
the incarnation of Manu, Lord became the descendant of Manu dynasty and ruled over the miscreant kingly order, subduing them by his powerful weapon. Undeterred in all circumstances, his rule was characterized by his glorious fame, which spread over the three lokas and above them to the planetary system of Satyaloka, the topmost in the universe.
So this is Manu. Dhanvantari. Yeah, please read.
The Lord, in his incarnation of Dhanvantari, very quickly cures the disease of the ever diseased living entity simply by his fame personified, and only because of him do the demigods achieve long lives. Thus, the personality of Godhead become ever glorified. He also exacted a share from the sacrifices, and it is he only who inaugurated the medical science or the knowledge of medicine in the universe.
Ayurveda. Yeah. Further, please read. This is Parashura.
When the ruling administrator, who are known as the Kshatriyas, turned astray from the path of the absolute truth, being desirous to suffer in hell, the Lord, in his incarnation as the sage Parshuram, uprooted those unwanted kings who appeared as the thorns of the earth. Thus he thrice 7 times uprooted the Kshatriyas with his keenly sharpened chopper.
Now there are 3 verses for glorifying Lord Ram. Yes, please read.
Due to his causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his plenary extensions, appeared in the family of Maharaj Ishwaku as a lord of his internal potency. Sita, under the order of his father Maharaj Dashrath, he entered the forest and lived there for considerable years with his wife and a younger brother, Ravana, who was very materially powerful with 10 heads on his shoulder, committed a great offense against him and was thus ultimately vanquished.
Yeah. So Ramayana in 1 verse, and then there is further glorification. Please read.
The personality of Godhead Ramchandra, being aggrieved for his distant, intimate friend Sita, glanced over the city of enemy Ravana with red hot eyes like those of Hara, who wanted to burn the kingdom of heaven. The great ocean, trembling his fear, gave him his way because its family members, the aquatics like sharks, snakes, and crocodile, were being burned by the heat of the angry red hot eyes of the Lord.
So particular pastimes are selected by Shukdev, Brahma, or can say Shukdev. I think this pastime is chosen even in the 9th canto, where Ramayana is explained in 2 chapters. Yeah, please read the next verse.
When Ravana was engaged in the battle, the trunk of the elephant, which carried the king of heaven Indra, broke in pieces, having collided with the chest of Ravana, and the scattered broken part illuminated all directions. Ravan therefore felt proud of his prowess and began to loiter in the midst of the fighting soldiers and thinking himself the conqueror of all directions. But his laughter, overtaken by joy along with his very air of life,
Here,
suddenly ceased with the tingling sound of bow of Ramchandra, the personality of Godhead.
having remembered these all incarnations, now 26 onwards, Brahmaji is going to describe about Krishna. So this very emphasis or the extent of what he relishes is very clear what he relishes more. Right? So that's the proper representative of Shukdev Goswami. Dashamasya Vishuddhartham Navanam Iha Lakshanam Varnayanti Mahatmanah Shutena Arthena Chanjas. So the 10 subject matter is Ashraya Tattva, that is Krishna. That is the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that Krishna is always indicated by the great souls when they describe all other cantos. So we can see time and again in Srimad Bhagavatam that the Ashraya Tattva is very clearly indicated. And you see how clearly it is indicated here. Not just sort of indicated, but clarity of indication of Ashraya Tattva. So let us see these verses now to some extent. So text 26, you can decide along with me. Bhumeh sure taravaru thavimarditaya क्लेशव्ययाय कलया सित कृष्ण क्लेशः जातः करिष्यति जनानुपलक्ष्यमार्गः कर्माणि चात्ममहिमोपनिबन्धनानि. Someone else can read the translation.
When the world is overwhelmed by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of world, descend with his plenary person. The Lord comes in his original form with a beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glory, he acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is.
Yeah. So this is the very first verse of Krishna. And what he is saying, the purpose of Krishna's appearance. Like, Bhagavad Gita also has Paritranaya Sadhuna Vinashaya Dishtuta. So, but am I audible clearly? I have just
Yes.
changed the mode to
Yes.
this mode. So I'm just asking. So, Paritranaya Sadhuna, that delivering the sadhus. So what sadhus deliver others? What deliverance is required for sadhus? So sadhus are Krishna devotees' deliverance from the separation which they feel. So Krishna can't delegate that to anyone else. He has to personally come. So that is Klesha Vyaya Kalaya Sita Krishna Kesha. So that is what is the real meaning of Paritranaya Sadhuna, even in Bhagavad Gita. It is not the delivering sadhus from some attack or something. But it is to deliver them from the pain of separation from Krishna. Because no other person, no other incarnation, no other Krishna's expansion can satisfy them other than the Krishna, right? The original Krishna. And there here the words Sita Krishna Kesha are there, which are very, in one sense, controversial, in the sense of there are stories in Mahabharata and which Purana? Vishnu Purana about this, that Lord Vishnu took out the two hairs and then they became Krishna and Balaram. Like that there is story in Mahabharata, and like that there is description in Vishnu Purana. Vishnu Purana says that Ujjahara Atmanaha Keshav Sita Krishna Mahamuni. Oh great says, he pulled out black and white hairs from himself. And in Mahabharata, the entire story is there. This particular, and some people say that, see, the Krishna is avatar of Narayan, like that. So, but that is not what is Gaudiya Vaishnavas understand. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur very beautifully elaborates in his big purport. I will tell the essence of that. So, Sita Krishna Kesha. So, these words can be properly understood by looking at Bhagavatam along with the others. So Prabhupada also explains this and gives indications. So before going to that, the last line, the last two lines are important. Jatah Karishyati. So see, this all is going to happen. Brahmaji is able to see this. All the previous incarnations also, many of them, they are going to appear in future. But why he will appear? Jana Anupalaksha Margai. Anupalaksha Marga means what? Anupalaksha Marga means that path which is rarely to be seen. So this path is the path of Raganuga Bhakti according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Very clearly he says, even in Bhagavad Gita, Machitta Madgata Pranaha Bodhayantaha Paraspara kathayantascha mam nishtyam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So he says that this verse is indicating Raganuga Bhakti. So the very first verse is indicating Anupalaksha Margai, means that path which is not very easily can be known. For that purpose, Krishna appeared. And this is the thing which is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Right? Chaitanya Charitamrita says why Krishna appeared. Prema rasa niryasa korite aswadan raga marge bhakti loke karete prachar. Rasika Sekhara Krishna Parama Karuna Ei Dui Hetu Ichara Udgam. So that what very thing is mentioned in this very verse by Brahmaji. And then second important point is Karmani Chatma Mahimo Upa Nibandhanani. So what kind of activities he performs? He performs activities, he exhibits a lot of power, like you will see in the next few verses. But he covers that power by his sweetness. He doesn't change his form as a child. So that is the meaning of Karmani cha Atma Mahima. Atma Mahima means his glory, his powers, his Aishwarya. But that is completely covered over by his sweetness. Like by small his tender lotus feet, he kicks Shakta and then Shakata is killed. By his lotus lips, he just sucks out Putana's life. And so on, many others incarnate, many other demon killing. This is the sweetness which he maintains in only Krishna's incarnation and no other incarnation. So that is what is told here in this particular verse. So now coming to this, so let us see what Prabhupada says here. And as I told you, let us see Vishwanath Chakravarti, as I said to you, right? So what he says, you see. So Vishnu Puran says, Mahabharata says, you can see the whole shlokas are quoting. But what he says is, if one examines superficial meanings of these statements, they are contradictory. They should be rejected. Right? So this is the principle we should understand. Bhagavatam is highest praman. So anything else is below that, then it has to be properly reconciled. So he reconciles them very clearly. That how we can understand this. And then Prabhupada also explains that how can Lord become old? How can he have a white hair like us? Can't have. He is always Santam Vayasi Kaishore. He has a young age. Then how can he have a black hair and white hair? How can white hair be there in Bhagavan? And if Krishna is the original Bhagavan, which is told in Krishnastu Bhagavan Swaya. So this is quoted by Srila Shikar Swami here. That if we take this verse as Narayan is appearing as Krishna in Balaram, then Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, which is the Paribhasha Sutra, is opposed. That's why this meaning is not proper. So same Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. So the wise explain these verses differently. So how they define this, describe these verses which are given in Mahabharata and Vishnu Puran, that is given very clearly. So that's what is told here. So what he says is that from my head, you can see, he quotes Jiva Goswami, Sandarbha. So Kesha has many meanings. So Kesha means the rays which emanate from me. Thus, when Vishnu pulled out hairs, he indicated the two lords whose two rays, black and white, maintain my head will appear. So this is the meaning, right? What Mahabharata says. The two lords whose two rays maintain my head will appear. That is the meaning of what he's saying. And why such things are told? Because Krishna doesn't like things to be spoken directly. Parokshvada rishayaha paroksham mamacha priya. So that's why we need commentaries of Prabhupada and previous acharyas to understand the depth of Krishna and his pure devotee speech. Because they indicate something and they speak something. Right? So that's how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains. Right? So Prabhupada also takes all that. And this is the last part. Yeah. So what type of activities he performs? So this already I told the first line. That means that his great powers exist but are covered by the sweetness of his activities. Right? So Nibandhanani means By hearing these pastimes, one's mind is completely bound in his sweetness. Karmani cha atma upanibandhanani. Mahimo upanibandhanani. So Yashoda is shown the full universe in her mouth. But her sweetness is not a word, because her mind is completely absorbed in his sweetness, so that he is my son. So that's the meaning. So the activities cause complete bondage to his glory. This means that his activities bind up everyone's mind by their sweetness. And that's what Satyavrata Muni prays, right? Iti Driksvalilabhirananda Kundai Swaghosham Nimajjantam Akyapayantam Tadiyeshi Tagneshu Bhaktairjitatvam Una Prematastam Shatavriti Vande. So this is exactly the meaning of this actually. That Lord wants to broadcast to the Gyanis, that you or the people who are interested in Aishwarya Gyan of Krishna, that see what I relish and what I made them relish. That is the sweetness of Vrindavan Krishna. So the path unseen by men, Jana Anupalaksha Marga, indicates the confidential path of Raganuga Bhakti, which has to only do with Vrindavan and no one else, and no other place and no other incarnation, right? So that's the very first verse of Brahma, who is indicating everything here. So Prabhupada also writes all these many things which are mentioned, which I already explained, right? Now the next verse, let us go to the next verse. Tokena jiva haranam yadulukaya त्रैमासिकस्य च पदाशकटोपवृत्तः यद्रिङ्गतन्तरगतेन दिविस्पृश्योर्वा उन्मूलनं इतरार्थ अर्जुनयोर्न भाव्यम्. Please read the translation.
There is no doubt about Lord Krishna being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how was it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putana when he was just on the top lap of his mother, to overturn a cat with his leg when he was only 3 months old, to uproot a hair of a Arjun tree, uproot a pair of Arjun trees so high that they tossed by sky when he was only traveling. All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself.
Yeah. So this verse is explaining what he spoke in the last line. That these examples like Putana, Chaktasur, and Yamal Arjun Trinaptuti shows that his activities are given to illustrate how Krishna's activities covers his powers with their sweetness. So this cannot be possible for any other incarnation. That's what this verse is telling. Unmoolanam tu itara itaratha Arjunayor na bhavyam. Na bhavyam means no other incarnation can do such activities which has filled with sweetness. And what is that sweetness? So there are 3 pastimes spoken. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur very wonderfully says that this Uluki Kaya means the very huge body of Putana. So that is, and she had the original form of Ulu also, means owl, I think. So she killed Tokena means few days. So he doesn't have to grow like Vamandev. He just remained what he is. And when he was 3 months old, then he, by his tender lotus feet, he kicked Shaktasura, which was not visible. So he didn't become like Narsingadev, like with the strong horns, so not nails, and such. What he says is not huge and tough form. He didn't show. He was just as what child is. And the third one is when he was crawling, and then he just went between the trees and he uprooted them. Such huge trees, their thing was reaching the heavens. So it was not like Varahadev, like that he compares. So this is what is called Amal Yash. So when we are glorifying, the glorification is of only Krishna and no one else, even in the other pastimes as well, right? So other pastimes are described so that eventually you want to glorify Krishna. That is called Amalyash, right? That's how the first 9 cantos are set. So here there is a comparison that na bhavya itara. Other incarnations can't do such sweet activities. So that's what he's giving an example. And Prabhupada writes a brilliant elaboration of this. So these 3 things I told already. So Prabhupada elaborately writes why Krishna is doing what he is doing and how he increases the love because of that. So you can read this. So it was, please read this. He elaborates what is meaning of sweetness. Yeah.
So it was not very difficult for Krishna to perform a miracle by expanding his bodily features. But he had no desire to do it because of his deep filial love for his mother, Yashoda. If Yashoda had seen Krishna in his love extending 6 miles to cope with the sea demon's Putana, then the natural filial love of Yashoda would have been hurt, because in that way Yashoda would have come to know that her so-called son Krishna was God himself. And with the knowledge of the Godhead of Krishna, Yashodamai would have lost the temper of her love for Krishna as a natural mother.
Yeah. So like that Prabhupada explains. So see, this kind of sweetness was not exhibited in the sense of when the Devaki and Vasudeva saw Kamsa being killed by Krishna. So what happened to them when they saw him killing and moving that? So they were wondering, should I embrace Krishna or offer obeisances to Krishna? So then Krishna has to awaken that sweetness by speaking few words, which were actually lies. As Uddhava says, no? You were saying that we were fearful of Kamsa, so we ran to Vrindavan. No, we could not serve you. And then by that speech, he awakens their sweetness. But for Yashoda, he doesn't have to do that. So that is the glory of this exchange, which is happening in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada elaborates what Vishwanath says very wonderfully. So yeah, please read this. From here you can read. When Yashodamai, yeah, please read.
When Yashodamai came to see the happening, she thought that her child had been saved from the falling tree by the mercy of the Lord, without knowing that the Lord himself, crawling in her yard, had wicked the havoc. So that is the way of reciprocation of loving affairs between the Lord and his devotee. Yashodamai wanted to have the Lord as her child, and the Lord played exactly like a child in her love. But at the same time, he played the part of his Almighty Lord whenever it was so required. The beauty of such pastimes was that the Lord fulfills everyone's desires.
Yeah. So that is the point here, which beautifully Prabhupada explains. So this is actually the way of Shila. No, Vrindavan Dham, the devotion of Raganuga and Ragatmika Bhaktas. So they have nothing to do with the greatness of Krishna. They have relations with Krishna. More Putra, more Sakha, more Pranapati. And Chaitanya Chaitamrita says that they do pure devotion. Kare Shuddha Bhakti, like that comes. So Shuddha Bhakti means Yagraj Bhakti, as per Chaitanya Chaitamrita. So that's what is glorified here. And you see from 25 to 35, the entire Vrindavan pastimes are only told. Only 3 verses speak about Dwarka, Mathura and remaining pastimes. Only 2 verses, last 2 verses. Everything else is Vrindavan. So now 28th verse is speaking another, so very, very famous pastimes are being enumerated by Brahma or relished by Brahma here. So this Kaliya pastime is there now, and the fire which was drunk by Krishna after the Kaliya. That is the 28 and 29 verse. Yadvai vraje vraja pashon विषतोप्यपीतान् पालांस्त्वजीवदय नुग्रह दृष्टिवृष्ट्या तच्छुद्धयेति विषैर्य विलोल जिह्वा दुरगम विहरम हदिन्याम. Someone else can read, no? I will not read. Yes, bro. One can read who have not read till now.
Then also when the cowherd boys and their animals drank the poisoned water of the river Yamuna, and after the Lord in his childhood revived them by his merciful glance, just to purify the water of the river Yamuna, he jumped into it as if playing and chastised the venomous Kalia snake, which was lurking there, its tongue emitting waves of poison. Who can perform such Herculean tasks but the Supreme Lord?
Yeah. So this also is showing his greatness covered with sweetness. Ajibay, simply by glancing, he made them alive. Anugraha drishti vrishti. And he not only did, in playful mode, he chastised also. Chaitaisha. In future is going to do that. So that's what Krishna's, this further. What happened after that night? They slept there, right? Tatkarama divyamimamyannishi shayanam davagnina shuchivane paridahyamani unnishyati vrajamato vasitantakalam netrepi dhapya sabalo nadhigamya viryaha. Yes, please continue. One more verse.
On the very night of the day of the chastisement of the Kalia snake, when the inhabitants of Rajbhumi were sleeping carefully, there was a forest fire ablaze with dry leaves, and it appeared that all the inhabitants were sure to meet their death. But the Lord, along with Balram, saved them simply by closing his eyes. Such are the superhuman activities of the Lord.
Netre pidhapya sabalo anadhigamya virya. Anadhigamya means unfathomable prowess. Superhuman, Prabhupada is saying here, activities. Or tatkarma divya. So Prabhupada also quoting Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Janma karma chame divyam. So this divyata is not just like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, you can read that. Yes, please read this. To mention
that his activities appear to be transcendental is customary speech. Actually, all his activities are spiritual. The Lord says, Janma karma chame divyam.
Yes, that's it. So divyam word is there, na? Here also. Same thing. But so it is not just transcendental just to say. No, they are actually completely transcendental. Right? So these pastimes of Lord in Vrindavan are being Kunti Maharani is also astonished to see because she saw Damodar Leela and she says, I just relish those pastimes. Right? So they are not like drama performances. No, they are factual and they are spiritual. And they are achintya. How it can happen? Dhiram yathi. What is that? Dhiram. The fear personified is fear. That's what Kunti Maharani is getting Vidambanam. Right? She says that Sama vimohayati dhirapi yad vidhet. So they are actually factual activities which are achintya, which are all spiritual. It's all exchange of deep, intimate affection and love. That's all. Forgetting about its greatness. So Prabhupada also explains the same thing, quoting 4.9. And he says that simply by hearing, one can become one who knows Janma Karma Che, but Tatvata, Vyakti Tatvata, he becomes qualified, eligible to enter the kingdom of God. So that's what he puts. The next verse is the other pastime, which is another famous pastime of Damodar. Granita yadupabandhamamu shamata shulbam sutasya natu tattadamu shamati Yajrumbitosya vadane bhuvanani gopi samviksha shankitamana pratibodhitasit. Someone else can read now. Remaining. Abhijit Pro can read. Abhijit Pro or someone else.
I'll read those.
Okay.
When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna, by and by, opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son.
Yeah. So he is telling Samviksha Shankita Manaha Pratibodhita Asit. So when she saw the universe in the mouth of her tender child, she became doubtful. What is happening? Am I seeing a dream? No, I am not seeing a dream. I am awake now properly. Is it the derangement of my mind? No, that is not there. I am quite steady now. Is it that some demigods are creating some illusion? So she said, no, no, no. Why demigods will do something for insignificant person like me? That kind of Shankitamana, what is going in her mind, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. And then she remembers, okay, Gargamuni had told he is Narayan, he is similar to Narayan, and so on. So that's what was there. But Pratibodhita Asit. So was convinced in a different way. What was that? That is my child. So that is the action of Yogamaya. So Yogamaya and Mahamaya, so they are the energies of Lord. They act with a purpose. So here, Prabhupada in his purport says that Yogamaya did that activity. So this is what is quoted 10.8.40, where the elaboration of or confusion is told, which Brahmaji is just mentioning here. So this is what I explained. So Prabhupada says that. Yeah, please read this. The mother was astonished.
The mother was astonished, but out of her deep affection for Krishna, she thought that the Almighty Lord, Godhead Narayan, had kindly looked after her son just to protect him from all the continuous calamities happening to him. Because of her deep affection for Krishna, she could never think that her very son was Narayan, the personality of God Himself. That is the action of Yogamaya, the internal potency of Supreme Lord, which acts to perfect all the pastime of the Lord with His different types of devotees. Who could please such wonderful wonders without being God?
Yeah. So these actions are the very important aspects of fasting. Yogamaya does it. So Yogamaya's appearance is told in 10 Canto, first chapter, 25th verse. What is that? Is very beautiful verse where the actions of Yogamaya are very clearly told. That it enhances the sweetness of pastimes by, just as Mahamaya acts on demons or the non-devotees, the Yogamaya acts on devotees. So that's what it does. So to perfect all the pastimes. So Yogamaya, actually this Yogamaya, what is that? So it is acts directly under will of Krishna. Even Balaram is affected by that in Brahma Vimohan Lila or Balaram Vimohan Lila, or all Vrajavasis Vimohan Lila, or even some Vaishnava Acharyas also, they don't accept this pastime. So it's all Vimohan. But this Yogamaya is directly acting under Lord's will. So for elaborate understanding of this Maya, you can refer this beautiful purport, which is there. Adishta Prabhunamshena Karyarthe Sambhavishyasi. So there he very wonderfully explains the purpose of and the function of Yogamaya. And what is function of Yogamaya, what is function of Prema and all that. Just as he gives example that the transferring of Sankarshan from the womb of Devaki to here Rohini happened by action of Yogamaya, because no one else can do it. How can Mahamaya do it? So it's happening to Balaram, right? So it's all actions of Yogamaya to enhance the pastime. Who could play such wonders without being God? Right? So that's what is this. Yeah. So this is Damodar Lila, which is very famous. And then there is, I think, yeah, Govardhan Lila. That is the next verse, next to next. This is Nanda Maharaj going to Varun Lok. Nandam cha mokshati bhayad varunasya pashad gopan bileshu pihitan mayasuna cha अन्यापृतं निशिशयानमतिश्रमेण लोकं विकुण्ठमुपनिष्यति गोकुलं स्म. This book, yes, someone can read. Maybe you can request Amit to read those who have not read till now.
Okay. Lord Krishna saved his foster father, Nanda Maharaj, from the fear of the demigod Varuna and released the cowherd boys from the calves of the mountain, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also to the inhabitants of Vrindavana, who were busy working during daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day, Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove without any doubt his godhood.
Yeah. So this is that Leela, and the next Leela is Govardhan Leela. There are two. Yeah. गोपैर्मखे प्रतिहते व्रज विप्लवाय देवेभिवर्षति पशून् कृपया रिरिक्षुः घर्तोच्छिलिन्धनिवसतदिनानि सप्त वर्षो महिभ्रम नघैककरे सलीलम्. Yes, so continue.
When the cowherd men of Vrindavan, under instruction of Krishna, stopped offering sacrifice to the heavenly king Indra, the whole tract of land known as Vraja was threatened by being washed away by constant heavy rains for 7 days. Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy upon the inhabitants of Vraja, held up the hill known as Govardhan with one hand only. Although he was only 7 years old, he did this to protect the animals from the onslaught of water.
So now the crescendo of all pastime, that is Ras Leela and killing of Shankachura. क्रीडं वने निशि निशाकररश्मि गौर्यां रासोन्मुखः कलपदायतमूर्च्छितेन दीपितः सुरुजां व्रजबधूनां हर्तुर्हरिष्यसि शिरोधनदानुगस्य.
When the Lord was engaged in his pastimes of the Rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavana, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavana by sweet and melodious songs, a demon of the name Shankachuda, a rich follower of the treasurer of the heaven, Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk.
Yeah. So with this, the Vrindavan pastimes end, culminating Ras Leela, right? And now the rest of the pastimes are from 20, 34, 35 verse, Dwarka and Mathura pastimes. Just 2 verses, everything is finished, right? So Prabhupada, having said that, now he quotes that we have to carefully see who is speaking to whom. So these pastimes are, some of them have happened and some of them will happen. So that's why the verbs are used in that way, right? So the adjustment is that all these incidences would take place in future, after the time when it was being foretold by Brahmaji to Narada. So Srila Thakur says that Vyasa, having described somewhat the Vrindavan pastimes because of their extreme sweetness, indicates in summary the other pastimes, the killing of demons in 2 verses. So that is what all the names of demons are there. You just, please read this verse and then we have a break.
All demoniac
Yes.
personalities like Pralamba, Thenuka, Baka, Keshi, Arista, Chanura, Mustika, Kuvalyapida, elephant, Kamsa, Yavana, Narakasura, and Poundraka, great marshals like Shalva, Dvivida, monkey, and Balvala, Dantavakra, seven bulls, Chambara, Vidhuratha, and Rukmi, as also great warriors like Kamboja, Matsya, Kuru, Srinjaya, and Kekaya would all fight vigorously, either with the Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Baladev, Arjuna, Bhima, etc. And the demons, thus being killed, would attain either the impersonal Brahmajyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets.
So this, of course, we'll see 3 more verses in 12:30, so that this section gets over. So now Dwarka and Mathura, the demons killing, not only by the Lord, but by his associates like Balram, like Pralamba, Dhenuka, and all were killed by Balram. And there are demons like other Bhima also killed, right? Not that everything is killed by Krishna. Even Vidya was killed by Balaram. Right? So that's what is told, and their destination. So depending on their consciousness, destination was awarded. So that's what is told by both Acharyas, Prabhupada also. So that's what Prabhupada writes, that it's all good. Their whatever Lord does, even if killing, they will get better destination. They would attain benefit by attaining spiritual existence according to the situation of their minds at the time of death. So that's what actually Bhishma also says, right? Atagataha Swarupam, in his prayers in the ninth chapter of first canto. So who all went, Prabhupada says, based on their state of mind. So they attained that. Now the other incarnations like Vyasa, Buddha, and Kalki and Vibhutis are next 4 verses. Oh yeah, someone else can read the translation.
The Lord himself in his incarnation as son of Satyavati, Vasudev, will consider his compilation of the Vedic literature to be very difficult for the less intelligent persons with short life, and thus he will divide the tree of Vedic knowledge into different branches according to the circumstances of the particular age.
Yeah, Vedat Dhrumam Vita Pasho Vibhajishyati Sma. So he will break. Like that's why it's called Vyas. So he's going to make 4 Vedas of 1 Veda. So Prabhupada writes all that. And very interesting he writes, because there is mention about Kali Yuga consciousness, Kali Yuga's state. So Prabhupada writes about that. Kalena Milita Dhya Avamrshanrana. By seeing the condition of age of Kali, Prabhupada writes, advancement of material comforts of the body is an activity in the mode of ignorance, according to the laws of material nature. Real advancement of knowledge means progress of knowledge in self-realization. So there was not required earlier the such thing which Vedas did, but now it is required because of the bodily consciousness. So that's what Prabhupada writes here. And then this Buddha. Yeah, please continue, Prabhu. We want to read next 2 verses also.
When the atheist, after being well versed in the Vedic scientific knowledge, annihilate inhabitants of different planets, flying unseen in the sky on well-built rockets prepared by the great scientist Maya, the Lord will bewilder their minds by dressing himself attractively as Buddha and will preach on sub-religious principles.
Yeah, so this is about Buddha and his activities. So here Prabhupada very clearly says, which he doesn't say in the 3rd chapter of first canto, right? That is Buddha actually, which is mentioned in Bhagavatam, is different than what we know, the Gautam Buddha, right? So here Prabhupada says very clearly. Yeah, and he will sub-religious principles, right? The last word is there. What is that? Anu upadharmam means it is lower upadharma. That's what upadharma is, not dharma. He is preaching ahimsa and all. Prabhupada writes very interestingly the word about this violence and all, who cannot do. So please read this ahimsa part. Such ahimsa.
Such ahimsa is not a religious principle itself, but it is an important quality for persons who are actually religious. It is a common sense religion because one is advised to do no harm to any other animal or living being because such harmful actions are equally harmful to him who does the harm. But before learning these principles of non-violence, one has to learn two other principles, namely to be humble and to be prideless. Unless one is humble and prideless, one cannot be harmless and non-violent. And after being non-violent, one has to learn tolerance and simplicity of living.
Yeah. Yes, and then he tells about Manadena. One must offer respects to these religious teachers. So it's a very important thing actually that we don't do violence at any level. Kaya, vacha, manasa. So that's what parera udvega amar jivan sada papera nahi ko punyera lesh. Parera udvega diyachi jeko to diyachi jivera klesh. So we don't have to do this, and for that necessary is what Prabhupada is saying, unless one is humble and prideless. Amanitvam adambitva. One cannot be harmless or non-violent, even if he doesn't know that I am not creating harm to anyone. But yes, he will be harmful and he will be violent. So it's very powerful statement. And then Prabhupada is saying that then the tolerance will come. So tolerance, and then there is respect. So this is all going in the third verse of Shikshashtakam, which Prabhupada is mentioning here for in context of Lord Buddha. That is a very important quality that we careful in our actions, speech, and thoughts. Will not be harmful at any level. And then the 38 is Kalki Avatar. Yeah, please read.
Thereafter, at the end of Kali Yuga, when there exists no topics on the subject of God, even at the residences of so-called saints and respectable gentlemen of three higher castes, and when the power of government is transferred to the hands of ministers elected from the low-born Shudra class or those less than them, and when nothing is known of the techniques of sacrifice, even by word, at that time the Lord will appear as the supreme chastiser.
So Kalki is appearing in age of Kali. There are 4 conditions given here, interestingly. That where the Hari Katha doesn't happen. That is the first. Second is when the Dvijas become Pashandis. And the third is when the Kshatriyas become Shudras. Right? Like that. And the fourth is when the Swaha, Swadha, Vashat, these words are not heard. Means there is no sacrifice going on. So these 4 conditions Kalki will appear. Like that is here. So Brahmanas are heretical, kings are Shudras, and there are no topics of Lord heard in any house. So then Kalki will appear. So Kali also stays in different places, right? So Kalki's places are told here. And then last is Vibhuti. So we'll stop with this and have a break and then resume. So now the verse describes Vibhutis of the Guna. Yeah, please read.
At the beginning of creation, there are penance, myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate. Then, during the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there is irreligion, and then Lord Shiva and the atheist full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestation of energy of supreme power, the Lord.
Yeah. So that's how the Bhagwan feature is being described by Brahmaji, what he relishes, right? His Leela Avtaras, predominantly Leela Avtaras, in that especially human forms like Vamana, Rama, and Narnara and Rishis are elaborated in 2-3 verses, and the maximum is Krishna in Vrindavan. And eventually he's telling about the Vibhutis also. So that's how he's telling these are all coming from the Supreme. So that's how this section ends, and now we'll have a break for Gayatri, and then after 15 minutes we'll resume and discuss the further verses. Is it okay, Amit Prabhu?
Yes, Puji, perfect.
Yeah, so we resume at what time? You can tell, Devotees?
Yes, Puji, 12:50, 15 minutes.
Okay, yes. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, please. Let's continue discussion further. So this is till now what we saw is that how Brahmaji is telling him that you hear now what I relish, the Lord's activities with his internal energy when he comes in different Leela avatars, which is culminates in Krishna, and that culminates in his favorite pastimes of Damodar Leela and many others, and that culminates in Ras Leela, right? So that's how Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, and in Bhagavan there are Leela avatars, and then he's culminating into Krishna and Krishna in Vrindavan and Madhurya Ras. So that's how actually the Bhagavatam takes one. That's the way it is spoken, and that's the way the purpose is of Bhagavatam. So we also have to approach in the similar way. So that's what the way Brahmaji is speaking, the previous chapter towards the end and this chapter as well, right? So that's the thing. Now the next two verses are talking about the powers of Lord are also unlimited. So there are how many Leela avatars? I can't speak. It is not possible to explain completely the Leela avatars of the Lord. But what about the powers of the Lord? Is it possible to estimate power of Vishnu? So that is the answer is no. So that is the verse which is saying. So Jiva Goswami gives another understanding. You will see that Vishnonuvirya Ganam Katamor Hatiha Yah Parthivanyapi Kavir Vimame Rajamsi Chaskambaya Swara Hasa Skalatat Tripushtam Yasmatri Samya Sadanan Rukumpayana. Yes, please read the translation. I think everyone read it. So again we can start. Yeah, someone can start. Abhijit, you can begin.
Yes, Abhijit.
Who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? Even the scientist who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so, because it is Vishnu only who, in his form of Trivikrama, moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyaloka, up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature, and all were moved.
So there is no question of counting Leela Avtaran, there is no question of estimating his power. Prowess. Virya Gananam Katam Arhati. Katam is how much? Arhati Iha. There is no one who can do it. Even if he can count all the particles of earth, he can't do it. So that's what is. So what Srila Jiva Goswami says is that having spoken about vibhutis of guna avtaras in the previous verse, fearing that one may equate Vishnu with other mentioned as vibhutis of Maya, this verse negates that conception. That Vishnu has unlimited powers, not like Brahma or others vibhutis. Just to clear that fear, Brahmaji is speaking these two verses. Because previous verse spoke about the vibhutis, right? So Vishnu is and guna avtaras. So Vishnu is special among all three because he is unlimited. No one can count his prowess, etc. So Prabhupada very interestingly says that highest scientific advancement of material scientist is atomic energy. So that time it was atomic energy, whatever it is, it keeps on changing. But then Prabhupada says, but even if one is were able to count such atomic particles, or were able to roll up the sky like one's bidding, roll up the sky like one's bidding. Nowadays, people don't roll up the bidding actually, as we do here. Even then, one would be unable to estimate the extent of prowess of energy of the Supreme. So the prowess is also unlimited. And yeah. So going further, now he says, this is further explained. I do not know the meaning of this Maya Shakti. What is this Antaranga Shakti? So, Kimuta is told to make us understand the glory of something. So now he is saying that not only me, not only the Munis who have born before you, Narada, neither you and many others, they can't know this. Nantam vidamyam ahamami munayograjaste maya balasya purushasya kutovatarai gayan gunanta shashatanana adidevah sheshadhunapi samavasyati nasya param. Please continue.
Neither I nor all the sages born before you know fully the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So, what can others who are born after us know about Him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Sesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although he is describing the qualities of the Lord with 10,100 faces.
So now Shesha is being quoted. So no one, nor me, nor you, nor four Kumaras, no one can. So, and this is about Maya Balas. This is about the external energy. So that's what you can see Vishwanath Chakravarti as well as both of them are saying that Purushasya yan Maya Shaktir Balam Tasyapi Antam Na Vedmi. I don't know the depths of external energies activities. What to speak of his internal energies activities, right? So that's what is being said. Maya balas purushas. So internal energies, highest activity are yoga, maya, chit shakti, all these things. So that is the zenith of that activity is Krishna's form, as told by Uddhava. Yanmartya leelau paikam swayoga maya balam darshayita grihitam vismapanam swasya cha saubagardhe param padam bhushana bhushana. So there the zenith of the Yogamaya's power is exhibited in creating the form of Krishna, which is most beautiful, which attracts even other incarnations. Bhushana, Bhushanam. So that's what is actually kind of told here. That Brahmaji is expressing his inability to know even the actions of external energy. What to speak of internal energy. And then Shesha example is given. Shesha has been doing this glorification, but he cannot end, he cannot reach the end. Shesho Adhunapi, right now also, he is glorifying constantly with 1,000 hoods. Dasha Shatatam, Samavasyati Nasya Para. There is no limit to the glories. Yes, so actually that's the Ananta nature of the Supreme Lord, his pastimes and his exchange of love with his devotees. I think Kaviraj Goswami says something similar. One moment pastimes of Lord Chaitanya cannot be written by Ganesh or something like that. Some verse is there. Anyone knows that? What exactly he says? The pastimes which are enacted by Lord Chaitanya in one moment cannot be described by someone like that, he says. Anyone knows that? You have heard? So that is Kaviraj Goswami. So actually, that's the purpose is to get absorbed in that. That's why what was that? Shoshana, what is the verse? The Ananta is for the purpose of the last verse of previous chapter. Right? Apiyatam karna kashaya shosha. That one hears that and he doesn't want to hear anything else. So that's the way the Lord performs unlimited past. So that's what is being said here. So now, having said that, now the another important section begins from 42 onwards, 42 to 46. So maybe Narada, so Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, my dear Brahma, you are saying you don't know. Then if you cannot know the Lord, then your realization of His is without foundation. You say that you don't know. So actually this is the honesty and humility of Brahmaji actually. He is actually saying what he is. And Narada is saying, so your realization of that Lord whom you don't know is without foundation. He may say that. So to answer that objection, Brahmaji speaks a very beautiful verse. And what is the principle here? That Lord cannot be understood by one's own skills, abilities, etc., but by His mercy. That's the whole theme here. Very beautiful verse. Yesham sa esha bhagavan dayaye dhanantah sarvatmana shritapado yadi nirbyalikam te dustaramati taranti cha deva mayam naisham mama hamiti dhi shvashugala bhakshe. Someone else can give translation.
Privrat Narad Prabhu?
Privrat Narad Prabhu is also remaining.
But anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, due to unalloyed surrender unto the service of the Lord, can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion and can understand the Lord. But those who are attached to this body, which is meant to be eaten by the end by dogs and jackals, cannot do so.
So who can understand Lord, or who can realize the Lord? On whom Lord becomes merciful. Yesham sa esha Bhagavan. This Bhagavan, Dayayed. Dayayed means he does bestow his mercy. Okay, when he bestows mercy? Yadi. When one is having these three things. Sarvatmana Ashrita Pado Yadi Nirvelika. So there are multiple meanings of these words given by different acharyas and Srila Prabhupada, which are the very important in our practice of Krishna consciousness. So this is the qualification to get mercy of causeless mercy of love. This is the apparent cause to get the causeless mercy of love. What is that? Sarvatmana Ashrita Pado Yadi Nirvelika. So Sarvatmana means Prabhupada says that by all means, full heart, without any reservation. Or, there is one Veer Raghavacharya, which sometimes Prabhupada quotes. So he says very nicely, Upaya Upeyatva Buddhya. Upaya and Upaya is what? Sadhana and Sadhya. So he is having very clear understanding of sadhana and sadhya. That person can offer his full heart by all means without any reservation, because he understands that reservation is there, then we will be reserved in this material world. So that is one meaning. And without reservation means without keeping anything, fully. Sarvatmana. This Sarvatmanahya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Pariratyakat. So these all debts does not apply to a person who is fully surrendered to the lotus feet of Mukunda. Right? So that is the verse. So there also Sarvatmana. So this is the first qualifier. Second is Ashrita Padaha. So who has surrendered to the lotus feet of Krishna. So there is a great glory of surrender which is spoken in these verses, these next few verses. So surrendered soul. It is not said that purified soul. Surrendered soul. So surrendered soul may be purified, may not be purified, but he is going to get purified because of the surrender. Yadi, if such surrender, nirvelikam, what kind of surrender? Without any pretense. Or Raghavacharya says, niraparadham, nirvelikam niraparadham, without any offense. So without pretense means there is no duplicity there. Velikata, nirvelikam. So this surrender is not conditional. There is surrender is not circumstantial. Like His Holiness Elder Maharaj gives a nice example that some devotee joins temple, or so he is put into yellow dress before, and then afterwards gradually is given more responsibilities. So he gives example of surrender, like earlier there was small door to temple, so you just bow down for some time and get up again to walk. So he was saying that sometimes surrender is like that. When person is there in initial days, he's very surrendered. And once he gets post position, white, saffron, danda, whatever, then the whole surrender is no. You go down for some time and again he gets up. So it's not like that. Nirvedika means it's complete surrender, complete pure surrender, without any reservation, without any pretension. So these are the qualities by which Krishna is going to become merciful. That Bhagavan will become merciful on such person. And what is the symptoms of that mercy? Te dustaram ati taranti cha devamaya. They will be able to cross over the external energies influence, which is very difficult to overcome. So this is very similar to Daivi Hesha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratya. Right? Dustara Ati Taranti. Very easily and completely they cross. Nishesham Tarishanti. They don't cross and again come back. Not Taranti, Ati Taranti. And not just that, they realize Cha is there. Dustaram Ati Taranti Cha. So what is that Cha? That they realize the paraphernalia of the Lord. Swarupa, Swabhava, Adi, Kamapi, Yathavasti, Tatvena Jananti. So they fully understand and grasp the Swarupa and Swabhava and the desires of the Supreme Lord. Tatvena. So that Cha is that meaning. And they cross. So they cross. And not those who are not Naisham. Not those who are affected by aham and mama. Naisham mama aham iti dhi. So their intelligence is constantly thinking about I and mine, me or mera. Their consciousness is compared to Shvashrugala Bhakshi, dog or jackal. So they are fit to be like that because they also have this consciousness, aham and mama. My whatever, my everything, my I and mine. I am Brahmachari. I am having this department. I am this. These are my followers. I am this. This is my area. This is my area of preaching. No one should enter here or whatever. It can be anything. Aham and mama can apply to any levels of depths. But the essence is the same contamination. Aham and mama is the deepest contamination which exists, which is directly referred here. And not those. So to the degree we have this aham and mama, to that degree there will be mixture in all this. There will be pretense. There will be reservation. To the degree aham and mama is not given. That's why we see Namaha word is there. You see the glorious prayers of Kunti Devi or any prayer. Namaha. What is Namaha? Namaha definition is given in, I think, Padma Puran. I was very touched by that definition. So ahankriti makarasya nakarastan nishedata. Tasmat tu namasa kshetri swatantram pratishiddhate. So the meaning is na ma. Ma means makar. Makarasya. Nakar means that negates that. Namaha means when we offer hearty respects to someone. So namaha means we are giving up the complete independence. Makar means that. Nakarastan nisheda. Tasmat tu namasa kshetri. When we say namasa kshetri means swatantram pratishiddhate. Completely given up that. Swatantra. So that surrendered soul, that's what Prabhupada is saying. Ashrita pada. So that's what is this verse speaking. So Srila Prabhupada also writes a brilliant purport explaining Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. So let us see some words of that. Some things we have already covered. So when Lord says, see, only those persons whom Lord shows mercy. And what is saying of Lord's mercy? Let those persons know me. When Lord says that, and to be more precise, it will come in the next to next verse that if some pure devotee says that let him become devotee, then actually that person becomes devotee. Like Prahlad Maharaj says to Narad Muni, that Narad Muni said that let him become a devotee. Krutvat masat surarshinam bhagavat grihita. Soham katham na visruje bhavabhutta seva. Or Narottam Das Thakur says, no? What is that song? That let a Vaishnava say that I am his. What is that? Anyone knows that song? That song says that if a Vaishnava says that this is mine, so that let this person know me. That is cross the ocean of Maya and know the Lord. That is the Lord's mercy. And then he quotes this famous verse, Nayam Atma Pravachani. And what are symptoms of this mercy? So there should be persons without material desires. So this is another meaning of Nirvelikam. Because material desires, Asat Krishna only cause aparadha. And who takes shelter of Lord's feet with indifference to karma and gyan. So pure practice, pure surrender, not the conditional surrender. And then a very important line is coming. The principal function of his Shakti of mercy is to manifest pure bhakti. That pure bhakti is manifested in people by his devotees. Thus, mercy is obtained by getting association of those pure devotees. Right? So that's the symptom that the mercy of Lord means we are aspiring to practice pure devotional service and we are trying to practice and we are practicing pure devotional service. Because these are all mixtures in that practice. And by that only one can cross the mind. Whereas one thinks of me and mine, of one's body and the bodies of children and others, which are worthy of food for dogs and jackals. Those who attain mercy are free from this conception. So this aham and mama is a very important barometer to actually check in progress of Krishna consciousness. So see, let us see Prabhupada's purport. It also reiterates this fact. And he tells about this bodily consciousness. Right? Whole materialistic world based on the conception of metal body as self. The unalloyed devotees of Lord know the glories of Lord in a sense that they can understand how great the Lord is and how great is his expansion of diverse energy. So this is the understanding. This is the meaning given of the word. No, what is that? Atitaranti cha deva maya. Right? So that's what Prabhupada is explaining here. Unless, therefore, one is saved from the wrong conception of body and soul, there is no knowledge of God. And unless there is knowledge of God, all advancement of metal civilization, however dazzling, should be considered a failure. So all other advancement is dazzling, but it's all failure because it's founded on I and mine. So this I and mine is a very important criterion. Right? So this already I told. Nirvelikam, niraparadam, etc. So now one may ask, what are the proofs of this mercy? Who has attained the identity without me and mine? Because it's so rare to give up I and mine. Because one can give up I and mine only when one has right I and mine. Right? The right function of true ego. Without that, one cannot give a false ego. Where can we see the symptoms of Lord's mercy? If Narada asks this question, then Brahmaji answers by giving so many examples. Because the Lord has shown mercy to me, I know. Like that he is saying. And I know many others also who have got mercy. So it takes one to know one, something like that. So he gives so many names of people who have deceived. So these are all worshippers of Bhagavan. Okay. And so please read the translation. Beautiful names of all the devotees. Yes. Continue to.
O Narada, although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and immeasurable, still, because we are all surrendered souls, we know how he acts through Yogamaya potencies. And similarly, the potencies of the Lord are also known to all the powerful Shiva, the great kings of the atheist family, namely Prahlad Maharaj, Swayambhava Manu, his wife Satrupa, his sons, his daughters like Priyabrata, Uttanapad, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. Prachina Barhi, Ribhu, Anga, the father of Bain, Maharaj Dhruva, Ikshvaku, Aila, Muchukunda, Maharaj Janaka, Gadhi, Raghu, Ambarish, Sagar, Gaya, Nahus, Mandhata, Alarka, Satadhanva, Anu, Rantidev, Bhishma, Bali, Amrutarva, Dilipa, Saubhari, Utanka, Sibi, Devala, Tippalada, Saraswata, Uddhava, Parasara, Bhurisena, Vibhishana, Hanuman, Sukadev, Goswami, Arjuna, Arshtisena, Vidura, Sutadeva, etc.
Yeah. So these are all examples because I have received mercy, so I know who have received the mercy. So I speak with the agreement of knowledgeable devotees. I know according to my realization, I do not know the end of his glories. That was revealed to me previously. So he gives many, many names. So Prabhupada also says that all the names of great devotees. And then Prabhupada says that by our own limited instruments of eyes and some instruments created like telescope, we cannot even fully know the material world of that. So what to speak of the glories of life. Mental speculation by adding dozens of ifs and maybes cannot aid the advancement of knowledge. On the contrary, such mental speculation would only end in despair by dismissing the case abruptly and declaring the non-existence of God. The same person therefore ceases to speculate on subjects beyond the jurisdiction of his tiny brain. As the matter of course, he tries to learn to surrender unto the Supreme Lord, who alone can lead one to the platform of Yalla. So, this principle is even important for all of us, that when we are trying to practice and propagate Krishna consciousness, we should not speculate. Because what Prabhupada is saying is the revelation is through surrender, not speculation. So best is to avoid speculation of any sort, if maybe all that. One should gain knowledge by surrendering unto the Lord and by acknowledging the authority of the persons mentioned here. So how do we surrender? By acknowledging the authority of person, those who are surrendered. So Sharanagati can happen only through a person who is completely surrendered. Otherwise, the whole world is surrendering somewhere to someone. Right? But the Sharanagati we can't do to the Supreme Lord directly. But we have to surrender to one who is surrendered fully. And that's how we gain knowledge of the Supreme. So first is acknowledging the authority and then surrendering to them. The Lord is unlimited, and by the grace of Yogamaya helps the surrendered soul to know him proportionately with the advancement of oneself. So Lord is helping to a surrendered soul only. And how much? To the degree he is surrendered. So there is a degree of surrender as well. Right? So this principle of Sharanagati is extremely important, which is further told in the next verse also. That surrender to Lord means surrender to a Sharanagat Bhakta. So that is the way to please Krishna, because he exactly knows what will please Krishna. So Saranagati is told to be a door of Bhakti by Srila Jiva Goswami. And Shraddha, when we say I have faith, so faith and surrender are synonymous as per Jiva Goswami. So when we have faith within, then surrender has to be without. So it's easier said than done. However, this is the principle which we should embrace. That this is the method which Lord is establishing. Even in Bhagavad Gita, you can see, right? So next verse is that only. That even Stri Shudra Hona Shabara Api Papaji. Like, Bhagavad Gita also says, what is that? Mam hi partha vyapashitta yepesu papayona. Sriyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Depi Antim Paramit. So by surrendering to a surrendered person, surrendering to a pure devotee, you can approach the Supreme Lord and think of serving Him in pure devotion. And to that degree, Lord will advance, Lord will know, reveal Himself proportionately with the advancement of surrender. Right? So this surrender, as all of us know, that there are 6 characteristics of surrender. And Srila Vishwanath, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, not Baladev Vidyabhushan, sorry, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written beautiful songs on this surrender actually. So there are 6 limbs of surrender, characteristics, in which all of us know Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjana. Striving to do what will please the Lord and not doing what will displease the Lord. Then what is it? Rakshishasya iti Vishwaso. Krishna is my protector. And Gopturtve Varnam Tatha. Krishna is my maintainer. Not that ISKCON is my maintainer, but Krishna is my maintainer. There is a lot of difference in that. Then Atma Nikshepa is self-surrender and Karpanya is humility. So these 6 limbs actually are very important to practice. As His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj was sharing in his seminar, in his retreat, that what we can practice is the emotions of surrender. We are having material emotions and we aspire for spiritual emotion. But spiritual emotions cannot be practiced as the Sahajiyas do. So what he said is spiritual emotions are awarded by the Supreme Lord towards the Lord and His pure devotees. But what we can practice is Sharanagati emotions. Because Sharanagati is Anga of mind. If you see in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sharanapatti comes in all Dasyam and all 9 Angas of mind are there. So Sharanapatti is Anga of mind, not just Anga of body. So means there are emotions. So what are these emotions? Emotions of determination. Like first 2, Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Vajana. Then there is emotion of protection, or I can say trust. Trust is the emotion. And then there is a dependence, which is the deepest emotion. As per Jiva Goswami, he says that the Sharanagati has tree of Sharanagati. The trunk is Goptrutve Varnam Tatha. So if we are fully convinced in our heart that Krishna is my maintainer, that is the trunk of tree of Sharanagati. And then when we are convinced, then all the 5 branches are coming from that trunk. So Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjana, Rakshishya iti Vishwaso, and then other 2, remaining 2. So the trunk is this, that Krishna is my protector. Yes, not protector. Krishna is my maintainer, Palak. Gopturtve Varnam Tatha. So that has to be deeply cultivated, and that can happen only by surrendering to a person who is surrendered. Right? And then the emotions of dependence, determination, trust, and dependence, which is very important, dependence. And then there is emotion of submission, right? Self-surrender. And then there is dainya, that is humility. So these are the emotions. For that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written songs. Maharaj was beautifully saying. I was just thinking how profound are our acharyas. They have given us everything to cultivate it. So this is what is about the surrender, which is being spoken here. And this one should gain knowledge by surrendering to Lord, by acknowledging the authority of persons mentioned. So those persons are nothing but the pure devotees. So the next verse is speaking about that only. Not only those great persons, but even lower persons have realized his powers. My dear Narada, what to speak of these great souls? Even Stri Shudra Huna Shabara. So that's what he is saying. So he very beautiful verse. Devai vidanti taranti cha deva maya Stri Shudra Huna Shabara api papa jiva Yad adbhuta krama parayana shila shikshas Tirijak jana pikimushuta dharana ye. Someone else can Yes, bro. You want to read?
Surrendered souls, even from groups leading sinful lives, such as women, the laborer class, the mountaineers, and the Shudras, or even the birds and beasts, can also know about the signs of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of illusory energy by surrendering unto the pure devotees of the Lord and by following in their footsteps in devotional service.
So, he's saying here, Tevai, they are undoubtedly, they also. Who are they? Stri Shudra Huna Shabara, Api Papa Jiva. So he says, Stri Shuna Huna Shabara. Not only that, Papa Jiva means from birth they are sinful. So they also Vidanti, means they know. They know the Supreme Lord, they know the external energy, and Atitaranti. They know and they surpass the external energy of Lord. But how do they do that? Yet Adbhuta Krama Parayana Shila Shiksha. So by taking 1 minute. हाँ नहीं नहीं कन्नड़ा बात करना है क्या उनसे बात करना उनको बुला हरे कृष्ण ब्रज लीला प्रभु sorry प्रभु so how they do that by taking that lessons from pure devotees so that's what adbhuta krama parayana shila shiksha adbhuta krama parayana shila are the devotees by taking teachings from the qualities of devotees, Prabhupada says. Even Tiriyak Jana, even the animals can attain what to speak of this through Shudra, Guna, Shubara, and what to speak of those who are Shuta Dharana, those who can hear actually, those who have taken idea of Lord by hearing about him, what to speak of those. So like that he is culminating the serving and surrendering to pure devotee. So yeah, very beautifully. So, yes, bro, you can read this green one, bro, green part.
If they learn about the qualities of those devotees who have surrendered to the Supreme Lord, who takes great steps, if they learn about the devotees who do not discriminate between high and low, they also know the powers of the Lord, even if they are swans, elephants, parrots, or cranes. Vivek. What to speak of how quickly humans who hear the name and form of the Lord from the mouth of a guru can know the Lord.
Yeah. So that is the principle here. Brahmaji is revealing that by surrendering to a pure devotee, by learning about their qualities and their vision, one can know the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada, as I'm talking about surrender, Prabhupada elaborates here. So surrender, sometimes there are inquiries at how one can surrender, where is the God, whom they should surrender. Those all questions are answered in this verse, like the Prabhupada says. The answer to such questions or inquiries is given herein very properly, very clearly, like Bhagavad Gita 18.66. But they have these two questions, where is God and whom they should surrender. So, Prabhupada very interestingly says that actually, if one is sincere in his seeking, then Krishna will arrange proper devotee for him. If one is sincere in wanting such guidance from Lord, will send a bona fide person. So there is no other qualification whatsoever required other than the sincere, being a sincere seeker, wanting that. Then everything can happen by the Lord's help, Lord's intervention. And then Prabhupada says that in the devotional service of the Lord, the only qualification required is surrender. Surrendering oneself is in one's own hand. If one likes, he can surrender immediately without delay. And that begins his spiritual life. And of course, if he likes, then he can surrender after few years. Like, I heard the seminar on surrender by His Holiness Haldar Swami Maharaj here in Pune. And then I felt that actually why I didn't hear this 10 years back, because that's the core principle. So I felt I'm too late and still I'm trying to do. But this is the only thing actually, which we should be thinking about, because that's the process. The bona fide representative of God is as good as God himself. Or in other words, the loving representative of Lord is more kind and more easy to approach. So what is speciality of surrendered devotee is, he is accessible and he is more kind than the Supreme Lord, because on the mercy of Supreme. So that is what is the glory. That's how Prabhupada traveled. That's how Prabhupada disciples, they are traveling. They are giving their association. But they are looking for sincere people who want what they want to give. Right? So that's what actually is the process here, which is shown. And again, Prabhupada ends with the same line. So the realization of science of Godhead and relief from the unnecessarily useless struggle for existence are not at all difficult for a willing candidate. But they are very difficult for a person who are not surrendered souls, but who simply speculate without any profit. Prabhupada ends this purport by saying a willing candidate, sincere candidate who is seeking right path, who want to practice right path. So for him, these things are very easy. He approaches surrenders himself. So that is what is told in this particular verse, right? So just one more thing I wanted to show on this, because the verse before spoke about aham and mama, right? So this aham and mama is a very important barometer. So some of you might have heard the description of what is that? Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani, which Radhichandra was so nicely explaining for 1.5 years or so. Right? So in that book also, and Bhagavatam, so many places, it's very clearly said. So I'm just trying to show the slide. So, see, Prabhupada, this is the diagram which is showing the process. So Prabhupada often said this. Yeah. Can you read this 1.2.7 purport? This the statement. Yes, who was reading? Please continue. This Pranjal, you can. Bhakti cult is?
The Bhakti cult is the topmost of all transcendental activities, and therefore it is simultaneously sublime and easy. It is sublime for the pure devotees who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord, and it is easy for the neophyte who are just on threshold of the house of Bhakti. To achieve the contact of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna is great science, and it is opening for all living. It is opening for all living beings.
So Prabhupada said, na, in the last purport towards the end. So we will try to put all these things in our perspective. See. So this is based on this purport as well as 9.3 purport of Srila Prabhupada, where he talks about the 3 levels of devotees, right? Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama, etc. So in this particular statement, Prabhupada is saying house of bhakti and threshold of house. Threshold of house means umbartha in Marathi, which is there in the door. So that threshold, that is called threshold, which you cross and enter bhakti. So that is very open for everyone. Anyone can enter, anyone can begin practicing Krishna consciousness. Right? So it's easy for the neophytes, just on the threshold of house of bhakti. Okay, 4 regulative principles, 16 rounds, very easy entry. But it is sublime for those who were serious to be in touch with Krishna. So that is the third, Bhav and Prem, that is the perfection. Getting in touch with Krishna means Bhav and Prem stage. So in between there is stage called Nishtha. So this is what is given in Madhurya Kadambini as well. So actually Nishtha is the stage where person's true ego has awakened to certain extent by which he can very much minimize I and mine. Without that, it is not possible. Because he starts practicing pure devotional service, not just aspiring for pure devotional service. There is one thing called aspiring for pure devotional service, and there is something called practice of pure devotional service. So Prabhupada says in 9.3 purport that those who are free from the infection of karma and jnana can be Madhyama, can practice on the second level. Right? So that practice is the second stage, where the true ego has awakened to certain extent. False ego has not at all affected so much, but true ego has awakened. And that is what is the, so this is all the cultivation of Sharanagati. So where Shubhada, Kleshagni, all these things happen, right? So this is very much corroborated in the Madhurya Kadambini as well. So you can see that. What is spiritual advancement or development means? The gradual development of real ego and parallel diminishment of the false ego, Hanta and Mamata. So you see here there is Gandha, Ekvarsha, Bahudeshavartini, Prayiki, Purna, Atyantiki. So these are the depths of increment of true ego or false ego, whatever column you see. So at the stage of what, so this was shared by this Bhakti from Madhurya Kadambini, that around 50% of true ego has awakened, then starts actually minimizing his I and mine. Right? And the same thing is told in Buddha Bhakti Chintamani as well. Right? So that's the case. So till the time of Nishtha, there is not much diminution of I and mine. But at that stage, it is like Bahudeshavarti. The real ego has substantially awakened from 30% to 80% like that. This is just numbers, but we can understand. False ego destruction happens more like ahead. But the true ego awakens first. That's the glory of bhakti process, that it directly goes to the root. Right? So that time the practice of pure devotion begins, because mixture means I and mine. The essence of it is I and mine, and nothing else. So that's what Prabhupada is talking here. So going further. Yeah. So having said that, now the next section is there again, Brahman and Paramatma. So now these were worshippers of Bhagavan. Okay. So 42 to 46. The worshippers of Bhagavan are described. Right. So before that, all the Lila Avtaras were explained. So 42 to 46, through surrender and through receiving mercy of the Lord by unpretentious, unreserved practice of wholehearted devotional service. That is the worshippers of Bhagavan. And is it necessary to speak about Paramatma and Brahman like that? So this I have already shown you before. So Brahmaji tells about that realization as well.
In 2.6.42 versus 2.7.40.
7. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, it's 2.7.42. 42 to 46. So these are worshippers of, because the list of the names were there and their practice was there, right? So they're worshippers. So Bhagavan was explained, Bhagavan's worshippers were explained. Now Paramatma and Brahman will be explained or described, sorry, not explained, described, and then worshippers of Brahman and Paramatma will be described in the next verses. So directly translation can be read. Yes, anyone can read. Yes, sorry, Chetan. Can you read the translation?
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation. What is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. That is certainly the ultimate phase of the supreme enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. He is eternally void of all disturbances and fearless. He is complete consciousness as opposed to matter. Uncontaminated and without distinctions, he is the principle of the primeval cause of all causes and effects, in whom there is no sacrifice for fruitive activities and before whom the illusory energy, being ashamed, does not stand.
So these two verses, if you see the words also, Paramatma Tattvam and then Brahmeti Yad Vidur Ajastra Sukham Vishloka. So this is all two verse, actually big verse, which is explaining these two realizations, describing. Okay, so it's a big purport of Prabhupada, but you can read on your own as an interest of time. The end is Kimuta only. If realization of Brahman attains such unrestricted happiness, then how much more can the form of Bhagavan give happiness? So that's what is the intention here of Brahmaji speaking. So Prabhupada speaks about variegatedness here, which is, and he gives an example of light. So Brahman feature of the absolute is distinct from material variegatedness, just as light is different than darkness. But the light also has variegatedness, which is seen by those who further advance in the light. So actually, this is what further advancement in light is, what process of bhakti is and what the process of Raj Bhakti is. That we go closer and closer and deeper into the varieties of light. Varieties of that. That is the ultimate culmination, is the most intimate exchanges of Vrindavan. Right? That's what it goes actually. It starts with far from material world to Brahma Jyoti, to Vaikuntha, to Saket, to Dwarka, to Mathura, to Vrindavan, to Govardhan, like that. So this is more further advancement in light, further advancement in intimacy, further advancement in the exchanges, right? So the personality of Godhead is the third step of Brahman realization. As explained in the first canto, one must understand all three features of absolute truth. Right? So he explains this detail. And what are worshippers of Brahman? So they are Jnanis and Yogis. So they are told in the next verse. Yeah, please read the translation.
In such a transcendental state, there is no need of artificial control of the mind, mental speculation, or meditation as performed by the Jnanis and Yogis. One gives up such processes as the heavenly king Indra forgoes the trouble to dig a well.
So, as I told, the karmis, not karmis, jnanis and yogis. So, jnanis are for Brahman and yogis for Paramatma realization. So, they also have to mix bhakti in them. That is the next verse. So, what is told here is they also have to give up their sadhanas actually to attain this. So, that giving up is not having any interest in it. There is not much endeavor that they give up their sadhana naturally, because they have attained these realizations and the experience of happiness. So the example is given of Indra. Indra is Lord of Rain. Why he has to dig a well? He doesn't have to do that. So that's what is the case here. So Shri Vishwanath Subhadip Thakur explains, and Prabhupada also. So you see here, this I told you, these two. So they give up the practice of no distinction. That's what is told here. A poor man who becomes wealthy like Indra gives up his shovel, which he used when he was a laborer. So that is the elaborate meaning. But the bhaktas are different. The devotees of Lord, however, respect their sadhana twice as much when they attain prema. So their practice and perfection, the same thing is there. There is nothing giving up. So the devotees cannot be included in above statement. So this is for karmis and jnana. The Prabhupada writes for practice of transcendental loving service. So for such person, there is no need of practice of all other meditating on controlling senses, speculate on the mind or meditate by controlling senses and all. That is not required. So Prabhupada takes a different approach in this. It is for this reason that the great liberated souls who also desire to be associated in hearing and chanting the activities of the Lord. So this is what the sadhana continues after that also. The real perfection of life is to therefore be engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So this is nothing but pure devotional service. So this analogy is very deep, but we don't have time to discuss. The river, and then there is river, then there is need of digging a well if a river is there around. And that river is of the process. And then the worshippers of Brahman and Paramatma, they cannot attain perfection without bhakti. Because the Supreme Lord is all auspicious, because he gives results to all of them. That is what is the next verse. Yeah. Please read the translation.
The personality of Godhead is the supreme master of everything auspicious, because the results of whatever actions are performed by the living beings in either the material or spiritual existence are awarded by the Lord. As such, he is the ultimate benefactor. Every individual living entity is unborn, and therefore, even after the annihilation of the material elementary body, the living entity exists exactly like the sky within the body.
Yeah. So that's what is told, that Sashreyasam api vibhur bhagavan yatos. So all these people also, for them Shreyas will be given by Vibhu, that is Bhagavan only. So he always remains just as ether remains. So that's what is told in this verse. So that's how this section kind of gets over. Now it's a very important last part, that for 50 to 53 is some summary and instruction of Brahma to Narada. So the 50th verse is summary, and next 3 verses are instructions, which are very, very important, because that's what our sampradaya is, right? Brahma Narada. Soyam te abhihitastata bhagavan vishwabhavanah samasena hare nanyat anyasmat sadasachayat. Someone else can read now.
Yes,
Yes, yeah. Yes, Amit, you are reading or someone else reading?
my dear son, I have now explained in brief the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is creator of the manifested world. Without him, Hari, the Lord, there are no other causes of the phenomenal and nominal existence.
Yeah. So this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is. It's all over. There is Achintya Bheda Bhed, right? Which is the philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It's all over in Bhagavatam. So, hey, Tata, hey, son, hey, loving son, my dear son, I have spoken to you, Avihita, explained to you about Vishwa Bhavanaha Bhagavan, who is creator of the 3 worlds. But I have done it in a samasena, in a very briefly way. But what is the principle I want to tell you? Hare nanya danyasmat sadasach. So there is everything is Lord Hari. So 33rd verse was also like that only, right? What is that? Same words, right? Bhagavan, there is nothing other than Lord Hari, because energies and energetic are same. So that's what the same principle is saying, or the cause and effect, sadasachai. There is nothing else, annasmat sadasachai. So that is summary of his teachings. So this is what Prabhupada also says, what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, because energy and energetic are indifferent. Tatastha and Bahid. So Prabhupada says the potency and potent are simultaneously one and different. So one should not deprecate the Lord. Why he has created this horrible material world? No. Government has to create the prison. Prison is created with the desire to help. So that's the way. Now Narada asking question, are you reciting something astonishing, never heard before? Because Narada has heard. So then he says, I am speaking Bhagavatam, which was told to me by the Supreme Lord, which will be the next chapter of Bhagavatam, right? 9th chapter. That is Chatushloki. So that's what he says. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Yanme Bhagavatoditam Sangrahoyam Vibhutina Twametat Vipuli Kuru. Yes, Paul, please continue.
O Narada, the science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself.
Yeah, so expand. So you expand the science which I spoke to you, and I spoke to you what was spoken by Lord to me. What is that? In essence, Bhagavatam is Sangrahoyam Vibhutina. Lord's conglomeration or collection or accumulation of his diverse energies, potencies. So that's what energy and energetic and their interactions. That's what you expand on it. That's what he is. So says very nicely. Are you reciting something new? Yes, but I alone do not speak it. I don't speak it. I am reciting something new to you. But Lord spoke to me. Don't consider this as a scripture, because this is non-different than Supreme Law. The Lord directly remains in this form of scripture. Therefore, you should distribute it everywhere. That is Narada's service. So, Narada is given service here. Now you expand on Bhagavatam, which is non-different than the Supreme Law. Lord remains in this form of scripture. So, idam Bhagavatam nama yanme bhagavatodita. So, Bhagavatam means that belongs to the Supreme. So, Prabhupada says that only. Prabhupada quotes that Chatushloki is going to come in the next chapter. So, that's how it goes in Parampara. Yeah, please read this, the ripened fruit.
The ripened fruit of the Vedic desire tree drops from one hand to another without being broken by falling suddenly from a high branch down to the earth. Therefore, unless one hears the signs of Godhead from the bona fide representatives of the disciplic succession, as above mentioned, for one to understand the theme of the signs of Godhead will be a difficult job.
Yeah. So this is very important thing, that a bona fide representative of Shukdeva Goswami, disciplic succession, he has to hear the science of God from such person. He is not adding anything, he is not subtracting anything, he is not speculating anything, he is not changing anything. That's what the best offering of His Holiness Jai Advait Swami Maharaj. He was saying that one, right? Recently in Yatra. So this is the duty actually of the presenters of Bhagavatam, to be actually aspire to become a bona fide representative, right? Otherwise, it's a very difficult job. Prabhupada is saying, science of God. And then, with what intention we should do it? But in front of me, the Guru, you should follow one rule in distributing. So there is a rule to distribute. First thing is, distribute the same message, expand it. But you should speak so that the bhakti will arise in men who are born in Kali Yuga. Can you imagine? The pure unalloyed bhakti should born in the people of Kali Yuga. That should be the sankalpa of a bona fide representative of parampara. Yathaharau bhagavati nunam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmani akhiladhare iti sankalpa varnaya. Yeah, someone else can read last two verses.
Please describe the science of Godhead with determination and in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human beings to develop transcendental devotional service into the personality of Godhead Hari, the super soul of every living beings and Saman Banam, source of all energies.
Yeah. So that is the sankalpa. You should go and describe this Bhagavad. Yes. So, yeah. can see. So it is directed to the people of Kali Yuga because it has been said, Nashta Drishamesha Puranarko Adunoditaha. Yeah. So Lord attracts the mind by love and Lord takes away material life. So that's why Harau Bhagavati. So that Hari, Lord Hari's job is to attract the mind. But our job is to receive it from a proper source. And Bhagwan indicates it is easy to worship or is blissfully worshipped. And Sarvatmani means he is essence of all forms. That is Krishna. By devotion to him, all desires are achieved, even the material desires. Akhiladhari. So that is what is Akama Sarvakama kind of. We should utter the statement Sankalpa. Starting from today, I will describe devotion to the Lord. So Prabhupada emphasizes that point only. Why in that age of Kali this has to come in form of writing? Because of very much rampant sinful activities, breaking of 4 regulative principles. Everyone becomes forgetful of the relationship of Lord. Before that, it was not required. It was existing in with the sages, but written form was not required. So that's what Prabhupada says. And yeah, please read this. As we have explained,
As we, as we have already explained, Srimad Bhagavatam is so scientifically presented that any sincere student of this great science will be able to understand the science of God simply by the reading it with attention and simply by regularly hearing it from the bona fide speaker.
yeah. So sincere student can do 2 things, or he can do both things. Simply by reading it with attention, not just reading, studying. Like as Prabhupada says, one has to study Bhagavatam regularly with scrutiny to gradually become attached to chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, spiritual master, instructed him, Prabhupada says. Or simply by regularly hearing from bona fide speaker. So right presenter, if you regularly hear, then we will properly approach Bhagavatam. So Narada was never advised to preach the principle of Bhagavatam to earn livelihood. So there is no other desire attached to glorifying Bhagavatam, preaching Bhagavatam. He was ordered by spiritual master to take the matter very seriously in a missionary spirit, means giving bhakti to Kali Yuga people. Now Narada may ask this question that do I have to tell this Leela avatars are so nectarian? So should I just describe Leela avatars? Like that. So please read this link, Prabhu. Yellow. Yes,
Bhakti
Kripa.
characterized by the hearing and chanting the pastimes, and whose
subjects are names and pastimes of Lord.
Bhakti characterized by the hearing and chanting the pastimes, whose subject are the names and pastimes of the Lord, such as lifting Govardhan and his Leelavatar, are all spiritual and full of Purushavatar dealings with Maya Shakti, predominantly with his glance over Prakruti, the production of Mahatattva and then Ahankara are all related to Maya. Should one describe Maya or not? This verse is answered.
So the last verse, which is also very important, is telling us that Narada is asking this question. This Leela Avatar and Krishna Leela especially are so blissful. But the Lord's activities with external energy, having this, so much glancing over Prakruti and Mahatattva, all that. So should I describe Maya or not? Like that. Because I asked about it, but as you said, it is more nectarian to hear the Leela Avataras. So should I describe Maya or not? So Brahma tells very important verse. Mayam varnayato mushya ishwarasyanumodataha shanvatah shraddhaya nityam mayatmanamuhyati. Yes, is it the translation? Kripa Sindhu,
The
last.
Yes, Puji. Yes, Puji. The Lord's activity in the association with his defined energy should be described. appreciated and heard in accordance with the teachings of Supreme Lord. If this is done regularly with devotion and respect, one is sure to get out of this illusionary energy of Lord.
Yeah. So this verse is telling the importance of respectful approach towards Srishti Leela. Although it appears little complicated and not so much rasa in it and all that, but it has to be regularly heard, with faith heard, and with appreciation heard. Anumodataha shunvataha shaddhaya. Because why? Because the acharyas tell that because we are affected by the external energy, so we should hear how Lord deals with external energy. So Srishti Leela only it is. It is Leela means it is done for his pleasure. So we should see, and Mahat Tattva and all these are also devotees of Lord actually. They are personalities. So Lord is doing Leela with them. So that's how a devotee sees Srishti Leela. That it is interaction between Lord and his devotee. It is not just some complicated arrangement. So it has to be appreciated, it has to be heard with devotion and respect. So you can read this powerful purport. Of course, we don't have so much time to read, but you can see. Yeah. So here I am saying that what is a devotee's consciousness? So he says that very clearly. You can read this, bro.
Yes, bro.
The description of Maya as in assistance to the process of chanting and remembering and hearing is also bhakti. So see, bhakti is also this. When you hear about description of Maya and chant and remember, that is also bhakti. Why it is bhakti? So the devotee should have faith that even Maya Shakti of the Lord, along with her expansions as Mahat Tattva and other elements, is devotees with greatest devotion. So they are all devotees. They are all personalities. Mahat Tattva, Ahankar, and so many other things are there, right? This will be explained in the third canto in the verses recited by elements. So beautiful prayers are there in third canto, fifth chapter. To understand their devotion there. Thus the pure devotees should hear about Maya and Mahat Tattva with this way of thinking, that it's between devotees. The jiva is not bewildered by Maya. Pastimes of Lord related to Maya are not Maya. Rather, they are transcendental. So, the pastimes of Srishti Lila are also transcendental. So, that's what is very powerful purport. And Prabhupada elaborates this. So, Prabhupada writes a brilliant statement. The science of learning a subject matter seriously is different from the sentiments of fanatics. So fanatics approach something in a very foolish way, but a serious learner has to approach in a very proper way. So those who are not completely free from clutches of Lord external energy should devoutly hear regularly about activities of Lord with his external energy. Like that. So he says they are actually for liberated soul, both of them are equal. Topics like Ras Leela are meant for liberated souls and not for conditioned souls. The conditioned souls, therefore, must hear with appreciation and devotion. So we may hear, but how much appreciation we have? The Lord's pastime in relationship with the external energy. Such acts are as good as hearing the Ras Leela in liberated states. So that's how he tells. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the science of God, the first 9 cantos prepare the ground for hearing the 10th canto. So this is a very important statement of Srimad Bhagavatam, that all of us want to go to the lotus face of Lord and the smile of the Lord, which is the Rasa Panchadhyaya. And the process is like this. The Sukadeva Goswami wants us to go in this methodology of going through the canto wise, chapter wise. So and there are people who approach Prabhupada that can you speak Raslila. Prabhupada said that actually I am not qualified to speak. So, but why? What is Prabhupada telling us here? So we have refrained from such action of speaking 10th canto immediately because we wish to present Srimad Bhagavatam as science of Godhead. So this is our wish, Prabhu. We wish to present Srimad Bhagavatam as science of Godhead and not as a sensuous understanding for the conditioned souls. So we may do some bridge preaching, and we should do it, because without bridge, how they can come to Bhagavatam? But eventually, this is the way Prabhupada wants us to present. So by reading and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam as scientific presentation, the conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to higher status of transcendental knowledge after being freed from the illusory energy based on sense enjoyment. So this is what actually is the importance of all types of pastimes of Lord, and it has to be respected in a proper perspective. Right? So as when Maharaj was saying, I think Bhakti Prachar Parivajak Maharaj in the Yatra, that Prabhupada has kept Krishna Prema in his divine purpose, just as Lord Chaitanya kept for Narottam Das Thakur in Padma River. So he was just rephrasing the statement of Prabhupada that purports are my devotional ecstasies. So Prabhupada purports are very, very important, and we try to understand them properly, to understand the science and approach the 10th canto and the smile of the Lord. So thank you all very much. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 2nd canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. Hare Krishna. So I apologize for overtime. Already 7 minutes we have gone over time. So we pause here for this 7th chapter. Hare Krishna. Nantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Puji, for taking out time in this party. So let us thank Puji. He actually morning time is distributing time to 2 o'clock, but Puji sacrificed it for taking our class today. So let us thank Puji by 3 times proudly chanting. Haribo! Haribo!
Haribo!
Actually, Bhagavad Katha Prabhu sacrificed.
Our next thank you. So our next session is going to be in mostly the first week of February, and the submission and exam of this unit will be after the marathon. That is around 15th January to 25th January, in between that time. Just for all of your information. Hare Krishna. So devotees can write OBAs and everything and be prepared in city. I'll send the mail about the exact date. Hare Krishna.